Well, hey, everybody, and welcome to another edition of Force 5 Open Chat, the show where I talk to a guest while I open Star Wars toys that I've accumulated. And our guest tonight is, hey, Matt.
Getting caught up on some reading. Hi, how are you?
I mean, that reading's been sitting on the pile for quite a bit.
Yeah, no, I'm just now getting to 2008.
It's great the trust fall that you took, never having read or seen anything he'd done up to this point.
It just felt right. It just felt right. It felt like the kind of thing that, is there not a date? He did not put a date.
That's because all his work is timeless.
Oh, well, see, 2003, 4, 5, and 6, but like the actual publication date of this is not.
Is that because he just kept trying until it stuck?
Yeah, I know. Well, it's like yeah. You know what? I don't know. You had him on the show. You should have asked this stuff, man.
Listen,
I can't believe you asked him about collecting shit. Boy, was that a mistaken?
I had to explore. I knew I had to explore that with him, knowing his position. I wanted to drill down and try and get a sense of where that was coming from, because it's certainly a deeply held belief of his that it is not a thing that he is.
He's got the very, very zero interest in that sort of nonsense.
And yet, if there was a Chip Zdarsky figure that was available, he'd probably own it and give them out like candy to anyone he encountered.
I don't know, but like apologetically.
Well, but that's the Canadian.
Like, I'm sorry. You know? I'm sorry. Yeah, it's true. It's true. He's very Canadian.
So how do you divorce that from his beliefs on collecting and collectibles?
Yeah, I don't know. I just, boy, we'll have to. I got my, on the many things I'm doing. Now that I'm a writer that's on strike, I finally got our 3D printer fixed and up and running. I'll have to maybe 3D print a chip.
Now, are you doing filament printing or are you doing resin printing?
Resin printing.
I have a resin printer.
I jacked up a filament printer so bad. I'm just gonna. And I've spent like 2 or 3 years on and off trying to fix it, and I'm just gonna put all the shit.
Is it a nozzle issue?
Yeah. Well, it became a nozzle issue. It got so backed up into the spitter that in trying to repair that and get it unclogged, I had to basically disassemble the entire. It was a dual nozzle thing.
Oh, geez.
So I had to take it entirely apart and.
Well, that was my issue.
That was dumb.
The thing that kept me from approaching 3D printing for the longest time was the sort of hobbyist director set aspect of the early printers. You had to know what you were doing. You had to have some technical skill. You had to assemble it yourself. You had to troubleshoot it yourself. There was no support for it. It's basically, you have to know what you're doing. And then, yes, you can do these wondrous things with the printing. I was waiting till it got down to at least close to a consumer grade model of set it and forget it.
Yeah.
Which I finally got with the printer the Elegoo printer that I got a year ago. Yeah, must have been a year ago, which has been fine so far. Haven't had any major, couple of spaghettification issues, but nothing that was permanently functionally impaired the printer. I got a resin printer a month ago now that I have not unboxed, because the more I dived into what it takes and the cleanup and curing process and handling of resin, it just intimidated me more and more to approach it.
Well, you get gloves, right? Those gloves are the answer to that. And some cheap.
Okay, so I just don't suck it out with a straw. That's not something.
Yeah. But that's gloves are on. Well, I got it for a Christmas gift a couple years back, and basically set it up, ran a couple of prints, and then did not touch it until a couple weeks ago. But it found that with the most recent sort of firmware and software updates, it's been a really great success. And in fact, like I tried printing the cathedral at Notre Dame, and the I've never had this problem before. That the model was so detailed and fine that the support structures that I printed to keep it upright during the printing were actually problematic.
So they were not structurally sound enough to provide.
Oh, they were so structurally sound that I was not delicate of hand enough to remove it from the model.
Oh, okay. So it became enough of part of the structure that it was impossible to clean up.
Yeah, and I might have cured it too long. I don't know, but that was novel, right? That was like, oh, hey, it really works. It really works well. And my son has been 3D printing little dudes. And
I've seen the miniatures he's been doing.
Is kit bashing them and all that stuff. So I'm trying to show him how to do it. But it's you got to sort of.
He started modeling himself yet, or is he just bashing?
No, but like it's coming. I expect it any day now. You got to zero out the bed every time, and you got to kind of clean the goop, and just goop maintenance is kind of the hardest part. But other than that, it's really kind of push button and let it go.
Well, the one I have is one of the newer ones that have the built-in air filter. So supposedly you don't have to be as concerned about the fumes.
Yeah.
And placement for it.
Right. And I got a curing thing too. So like it was Anycubic had a sale. So there's the printer and then the cure, so it goes in this bath of isopropyl alcohol.
That's the thing I'm waiting for now. I'm like, I don't want to start this if I don't have the wash and curing station, because it seems like it just makes it infinitely easier to have that as a dedicated.
Totally. Well, especially like living in Portland where the sun is unreliable the best of times. It's like, well, this works too. So I've been really surprised that once I got it kind of out and reset up and cleaned and everything, and like, oh shit, it works pretty great.
I mean, I got into, like, I've commissioned a lot of models that I did as gifts for when the book came out, and I've done a lot of printing of those on the filament printer. So I like the idea of, if I have an idea, I can work with someone who knows how to model and make it a reality.
Yeah.
So don't think that I'm not going to be having a Jimmy Olsen figure for you and Steve.
You'll take it up to with DC's lawyers. Just don't let them get wind of it.
Jamie Molson, the Jamie Molson figure will be available for all. He's wearing a blue bow tie.
Very cool. Yeah, you know what I found out from Steve? From Steve yesterday is that one of the guys at Helioscope in his studio made a brush in Manga Studio, like a digital drawing app or whatever. It was a banana brush, so you just paint it. It would just paint bunches of bananas. And it started like as a joke, I think, between them. But the guy made a banana brush, and then he was like, "Hey!" And then I ended up using the banana brush in Jimmy Olsen, and it saved me hours. So
let's see if we can find that. Where's what page with the banana?
Towards the end is like 11, 12 when they're fighting, because they're fighting like the Daleks, but the Daleks can't walk on bananas.
So potentially the banana brush.
That's banana brush, 100% banana brush. That was in fact the panel he used as the example.
That is remarkable. And you know what? This is when I believe in the future of technology and what it could provide for us.
Yeah.
We don't. What do we have to fear when we have banana brushes?
Yeah, and it's one of my very favorite things to look at on the internet is Boston Dynamics robot drone dogs slipping on banana peels. If you've never looked it up, $500,000 robot sentries that are pure nightmare fuel, but they cannot walk on slippery surfaces. It's the funniest thing in the world.
And they won't be cataloging those slights, right? That's not a thing that could possibly happen.
Yeah, they don't. Who cares?
We're not going to see pens full of humans being forced to slip on bananas in the future. That's not what's in store for us, is it?
No, I mean, I don't think. I mean, AI doesn't work like that. It's just, it doesn't have that capacity. That's wasted effort.
No, but if you fed it a lot of silent films that had banana slippage in it, then they could create, quote unquote.
Oh yeah, but
that sort of slapstick comedy.
Where people our ankles actuate, so
Yeah, well, I mean, they don't have to do feet, so they're not concerned with it. It's not. Doesn't go into the.
I don't know. It does my heart good anytime a
See
robot dog
that little robot
slips on
dog just
bananas.
sliding away.
Any robot, just put oil down on your floor, and you're fine. The robot sentries aren't going to get you.
I kind of enjoy when that Spider-Man animatronic at Disneyland goes.
God damn! I laughed at that, like watching somebody else's kid wipe out on a bike. It just killed me. Oh my god!
So many different ways to see that thing fly through the air wrong and just take a hit.
And just imagine how scarring it is for every child present to see Spider-Man fired at 134 miles an hour at the side of a brick building, just shatter in half.
The only benefit they have, or the psychological incongruity, is they have a performer who can then jump up and try and salvage the show. We're like, I'm fine. Everything's okay. I did the flip fine.
Yeah.
I'm on my back.
Yeah. You know, I saw the musical. I was at a run through of Spider-Man Turn Off the Dark. It was the first full run through they had done. Yeah, it was the first full run through they had done after the guy had broken his neck. So it was a show in two halves. They had done half one some nights and they'd done half two. It was the first night of a full run through, full dress, whole show thing. I was present for the live birth of both of my children, and I was more frightened during Spider-Man Turn Off the Dark.
Well, because that also involves some peril for the audience as well.
Yeah, I just didn't want to see. Yeah, sure. Yeah, very true. But I just didn't want to see Spider-Man die.
No. Knowing that also the entire musical could have been prevented.
I know, boy, it was really something. I got to say.
Did you see it? Were there any moments in it where you thought that was a close call, or this could easily? Did you see the moments where it could easily go wrong on so many notes?
Oh yeah, 100%, 100%. It felt like sitting in the center of a Hollywood stunt show, like at Universal Studios. But yeah, no, 100%. It was. It was completely obvious when and where the people who had gotten injured got injured and why.
Now, as far as going into that show, you knew what had happened. You knew there had been accidents and issues.
Yes.
Could you invest yourself in the show, or was every moment looking at like this is a potential disaster waiting to happen, and I'm here potentially as a witness to?
Yeah, there was that, but it was also an aesthetic disaster. Like, so it was,
right.
But I don't think, like, the one thing it was not was boring, right?
Oh, the clips, the show I've seen, the bootleg video I've seen, it looks like exactly what you would want from a cult disaster. Like it has.
Yeah, but like there were. I mean, I think like I think disasters are earned because reach really exceeded grasp. But like I appreciated what a magnificently big and weird swing it was. But like it felt like a Spider-Man, musical that was embarrassed by Spider-Man and kind of by music. Which was very strange. But like, it opens up with these women on these like trapezes with these kind of long, streams of satins kind of trailing behind them, and they're telling you the story of the legend of the myth of Arachne. And as they're going and they're doing all the thing, you realize what they have done is they have before your eyes woven the curtain, and then when they're done, the curtain rises and the show starts. Like, that's great.
So as a Cirque show, it's already great.
Yeah, I guess, but yeah, it was very strange.
I mean, a weird composer choice.
I mean, I think even Cirque shows. I mean, at least the ones that I've seen. I mean, like, actually quite love the Beatles show. but that's sort of like the more you know about the Beatles, the more you'll sort of have a sense of what's going on, you know. And even then, it's just kind of like, oh, I roughly know what period this part is in the story,
Right. And
not
these
just because of
speakers
the
are
music.
really great. This mix is really fantastic.
Yeah, no, but I mean, it's great. It's really it's cool. But there's all kinds of in jokes and like references and stuff like that, and the kind of all the stuff that's going on or whatever. But with the Spider-Man thing, it was like, I don't know. Sort of the one thing, like,
Well, it's the thing
it's
you
kind of the
said.
perfect origin story. You don't need to like tweak it, like
Right.
works really good. I remember there being one of the, I think the second Amazing Spider-Man movie. And the trailer is Andrew Garfield saying, "My name is Peter Parker and I'm Spider-Man. And the one thing that's driven me in my entire life," dramatic pause, "is the mystery of my parents." And I remember whatever I was doing with Brian Bendis, turning to Brian Bendis, like, "Nope, no, it's not." And he was like, "Yeah, absolutely. That's nope, that's not the thing, you guys. That's not the thing." Like, guys, it works really great. It doesn't need punching up.
Yeah, you don't need to put the hat on the hat.
Yeah, or yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Well, I mean, also you're talking about where comparing that Beatles love show to the Spider-Man Broadway show. You talk about that idea of feeling like they were embarrassed to be dealing with that subject matter.
Yes, yeah. It felt like Julie Taymor wanted to tell the story of Arachne, which is great, and Spider-Man keeps getting in the way.
But
God, it was
best use of the Green Goblin,
and it was just insane. It was just insane.
Anytime
I never saw the
numbers.
I never saw the reworked version
when they went sort of cabaret.
I mean, it was kind of cabaret what I saw, but like I know that they shut down for a while, and I think and a couple of people came in, and there was some rewriting and some changing, and there was it earned its money back, insanely enough.
Well, it became the show that everyone wanted to see if it was what everyone said it was.
Yeah, but I think that even the version that I saw, a couple more of the stunts, the kind of the big pieces, were dialed down from what actually opened. There's a book about it that I've been meaning to read. I can't remember the name of the book or any of that. But
I'm going to send the video that I have to you and see how different it is. You can tell me how different it is from what you saw.
Joan Rivers was in the audience that night. I saw Joan Rivers during intermission.
Did she participate in the show?
No, unfortunately. She looked like she could have, but
I'm going to start opening things before I forget.
Oh, yeah, right.
I'll be doing this in the background. For anyone who hasn't seen the show, I got a lot of stuff over the past couple of years, just as emotionally I invested in things to distract me from other things. And it largely was left unopened until it became a storage issue. So it made sense to begin opening these things. And what's the point in having it unopened? You might as well just leave it in the store or just look at a picture. I like the idea of opening a thing that I have. So I wanted to do it with friends so we could have a conversation. So I'm going to start with this.
Is that okay? Is that let me see if I can remember. Is that Boss Nass?
That is Boss Nass. Can you remember the actor?
Nope.
I'll give you a hint. Golden's alive?
Yeah. Oh, wow. It's him, really?
It is.
Well, like just doing the voice, though, right?
Brian
Blessed?
Brian Blessed.
Yeah.
He's also a keen enthusiast and believer in the Yeti and has gone on expeditions. He actually has been training to go to space. I think he's in his 80s now. He still, I think, does mountaineering. He is a force of nature himself. So I think this is the 2000 post Phantom Menace line. So sort of in that weird period between movies.
I've seen Phantom Menace 1.5 times. And I've seen Attack of the Clones and Revenge of the Sith once, and each of those times was on opening night. And
As
then
we
the
all
weekend
did.
when they re-released it in 3D, I took my son, who at the time was like 4 or 5, and we got through the pod race, and he just turned to me like, "Okay, we can go." So he just wanted to see the pod race.
Have they seen all the films since? Have the kids watched them?
Henry has for sure, and he is of a warmer inclination towards the beginning trilogy than I. But there was it was kind of, that was where the cartoons were coming from and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I know he's done the deep dive into like Clone Wars and all the animated stuff.
Yeah. And
but has not
it's
drawn you
again
back
heretical.
in.
He's tried, and I tried for him, and I have a lot of friends that speak highly of it, and I just can't dig it, and it sort of makes the Disney shows hard, Andor aside,
Because everything is pulling so much from.
There's 6 Wikipedia articles you got to read.
I did not.
My son was psyched the first time he had to explain a piece of Dave Filoni canon to me, and you could tell it was there was a time where he was but a learner. Now he is the master. Dad, you don't know what the Darksaber is? Like, oh God.
Did he sit you down? Did he explain it? Did he explain it well enough that you were on board with it and fully understood what was happening?
No, but he explained it enough that I knew that, I should go figure out what the show is. And the craziest thing, and like, I don't know, we're on strike, so I don't want to do any producers' jobs for him. But like, man, if I was Disney Plus, the minute they revealed the Darksaber, I'd have had a little playlist of all the animated episodes you could watch to get the story of that thing.
But Disney Plus is not.
Instead of me, I had to go to Wikipedia and try to. I can't. I don't like the animation. Oh man, I'm like an Orthodox Star Wars fan. I'm like a Hasidic Orthodox. I only just give me the original books and that's it. Just give me the original, the Old Testament of 4, 5, and 6, and I'm happy.
Is there any aspect of those prequels that did appeal to you?
No, I found them. I don't want to yuck anybody's yum. You know what I mean? Oh, how's the head on that?
Well, let's take a close look. I don't think it's great. But the fun thing with Han Solo and Luke Skywalker's is try and figure out the actor they look like rather than Harrison Ford.
Oh, that looks like Mac, the guy who played Wojciechowicz on Barney Miller.
Oh, it does.
That looks like a Wojo figure. That looks like a resculpt of a Wojo from the ill-fated 1978 Barney Miller Kenner collection. Everybody wanted fish, and once you got fish, no one else cared about the rest.
Yeah, no. And then they thought they were going to get a second chance to make that fish. With the Office playset, I'd buy the Office playset.
Oh, right, that'd be great. The preset.
Assemble all their desks.
Yeah. The coffee maker. You could put the stuff in so like it looked like the coffee maker smoked every time. Nick put on a bad pot of coffee. It'd be great.
I want that. I want I want a Cheers playset.
It's crazy that one hasn't come to Lego yet. As kind of as Lego has got
one of their
sitcom nonsense.
Okay,
I have 2 Phantom Menace stories, but I'm hesitant to tell them because I don't want to bash on a thing people enjoy. I love it. And also too, like I realize if I had kids when that came out, the way some of my friends did, and that I would feel totally different about it because it would be the Star Wars I shared with my kids.
Here's my thought on it is that, and listen, I didn't enjoy them when they came out at all. I remember being excited on that night of that opening and then leaving in silence. Yeah. After that movie was done, it was a weird thing to process. It's certainly what we had not built up over the preceding 15 years of our headcanon of what might actually happen should we see another Star Wars.
Right. No one had like counted on that, right? So here's I have two stories, and they're TV 14 maybe. I'm sober at this point in my life, and I have been for this, going on 17 years. At the time, I was not, and was on the party drug ecstasy one night, and was kind of wandering around as it was wearing off. It was creeping up on midnight, and I was wandering through this kind of little shopping district, the town I lived in, and there was an FAO Schwartz there back then, and sort of the end part of that was really enjoyable. Of that journey, right? The end, returning back to Earth is kind of nice. And I was returning back to Earth, as it were, and wandering by. There are all these people outside the toy store. And I was like, why are all those people outside the toy store? It's almost midnight. And then wandering up, I discovered, it was Phantom Menace toy release night. And right as I walked by, the clock struck midnight, and they opened the doors, and everyone went in. And so then I went in, and then it was surrounded by all this stuff. And I spent a paycheck at a time when I had not many paychecks to spend on Phantom Menace toys, and went home and opened them all up. And oh my God, look at all these! I wonder what this guy's doing. I wonder what this guy's doing. What's a Sebulba? What's a Mace Windu? And then going to sleep and waking up in the morning, just like, oh my God, what is this? I don't know who these characters are. Like, what have I done? What the? Oh Jesus! Why? Who? What? Oh God! I need that money back. But I was, on board, and a lifelong Star Wars. One of my earliest memories is Star Wars. So I've got 4 or 5 tickets for myself over. I think 4 tickets over opening weekend. Right, the sort of the Friday at midnight, 2 Saturday, and 1 Sunday. I'm clocking in for 4 viewings.
Yeah, because you'll want to see it again.
You can, of course. Why wouldn't you? Right? How many times I'd seen, had I seen Star Wars Empire and Jedi at that point? So me and some friends who I'm working with all have our tickets, and we sick out. We get the Star Wars flu. Start drinking about 10 in the morning, and have kind of planned this day-long drunk. And I am well and truly pickled by the time we're at the movie, but I'm like a career alcoholic. I wasn't a sloppy drunk or anything like that, but I'm liquored up. And
you're ready.
We're sitting there ready to go, and the 20th Century Fox logo, people cheer. Lucasfilm logo, people go nuts. A long time ago, you get the tingles, everybody gets the goosebumps, and then that blast of trumpets, that kick off the fanfare, and everyone goes absolutely nuts. And I'm so happy, and I'm so drunk, and I've waited for this so long, and it's so perfect. And the crawl starts, and like the first line is like, it is a period of uncertainty in the Senate as trade routes and tariffs are being, and out of me came this sound that I'm going to recreate for you right now. Oh no. And that was where I checked out of the film, never to come back. And yet, was their opening night for the other ones? Convinced this is the one they're going to turn it around?
I was on that same ride the whole time, where you're just going, oh, okay, well, you know what? I'm sure that in my mind, and in my belief that of course I knew better, that I'm sure lessons were learned. They listened. George was aware of what the audience response was, and he's going to right the ship, because surely he would have paid heed to the feedback that he received.
Or even just structurally, well, Empire's the dark one. So Empire's really, this next one over the second one that's going to be the one, because that's where it really. And then after 2, you're like, well, come on, you take the football away twice. You're not going to blow it that third time. It's Star Wars. Come on. You've set all this stuff up. Now it's just going to be a Star War, right?
Yeah. When we get Vader, this is finally the moment when
yeah.
The thing
and like I appreciate how Lucas and Coppola and that kind of whole crew of, like, I appreciate that he makes his movies as proofs of concept for technology that he wants to implement. You know, that like, I remember like Radioland Murders had a bunch of virtual sets, and like Red Tails was a bunch of stuff, and it was all kind of leading to the tech that he was going to use. But you know, I found the films like aesthetically cold, and as kind of tactile and warm and analog as the as 4, 5, and 6. Like it just, everything was so sterile and antiseptic.
Yes. Like they felt like tech demos.
Yeah, yeah, and like, and I'm sure because of those movies, all these other ones are possible. But it was like, I don't know, man. I sure wish that they were sitting at an actual table. You know,
My
who'd you just
personal
open? What's that guy?
This is Ewan McGregor, young Ewan McGregor from the end
Yeah.
of Phantom Menace.
Hmm.
So this is him when he's become a Jedi Knight, but he's still got no beard.
Hmm.
So this is Train Spotting Jedi.
Right.
Ewan.
And the rat tails are bad. The rat tails are the hair, just all of it. Just
and here is him in figure form with
it looks like he's encloaked in pudding.
I mean, now I just want some pudding. Yeah. I mean, it does not really look like Ewan. Oh, look at that.
No, oh, yeah, double rat tail. That's cool. Hey, here's a question. In the Obi-Wan show, when everybody was looking for Obi-Wan Kenobi, and Obi-Wan Kenobi was the world's most wanted person, why would he walk around in his Jedi hood? Everyone's looking at the Jedi. There's a Jedi now. Everyone look at it.
I mean, that's the weird thing when you look at how that. I mean, that's like his hermit robes. I never assumed that those were his Jedi robes
until
in the original film,
and
then it was codified in the prequels as no, they all wore.
Yeah, it would be like
robes.
if there was a crazy guy in the woods wearing a Confederate general's uniform.
Oh, he did serve in the war.
Hey, that's weird. Why are you wearing that? You're not one of those guys, are you?
No.
Did you see the sequel to Train Spotting, by the way? Did you see T2 Train Spotting?
I did.
Loved it. I was so surprised and delighted.
You know what? It reminded me, now thinking about it, obviously it came up before this though, but you bring it up, of a lot of my thoughts when I saw the recent Kids in the Hall return.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
In that it wasn't trying to capture what happened.
We're old now.
It is those characters existing, learning, evolving, different, existing in this world, and not trying desperately to like, here we're just going to give you a rehash of the vibe you got with that original film. Like I like that it was informed by 20 some odd years of growth and maturity and knowledge and experience, and didn't try and stick in that past hole just to deliver. Oh yeah, you like Train Spotting? Well, this is more of Train Spotting.
Yeah. What if he was 48? Yeah, it's not good. Is that what is we? It's another.
So this is a weird filler because this never existed. This costume never existed. This photo never existed. This Jedi training gear never was seen in the film. This is all conceptual art that was then extrapolated into a filler figure.
You know, I like they've done some of those before. Like I've seen like the Ralph McQuarrie like proto Wookiee, you know, with the kind of crazy bug eyes, and there's like a Boba Fett that are kind of based on the Joe Johnson sketches and stuff like that. Like I like some of that stuff. This just it just feels like, I mean, what if he wore a suit?
Yeah. So I try and preserve. You've seen. I try and preserve the cards because I keep the cards. The card.
Sure.
It's just that's my thing. While a lot of those Ralph McQuarrie designs were used in the cartoon Rebels. In fact, that original Chewbacca design became the character
that's the guy, right?
Zeb,
right,
in Rebels. Like the Vader that you see is very similar to the original concept art of Vader. Yeah. That's sort of more angular face mask. They made the lightsabers that weird stick, like really super thin lightsabers, like in his concept art.
I appreciated too the in the sort of last trilogy, the bits and bobs of set design that they made real from that. I appreciated seeing some of the stuff that I knew from like the Rinsler books or whatever.
Oh, like the Emperor's Throne.
Yeah, all that kind of little stuff of like, oh, that's the thing from the King, and I remember that painting. And there's this sort of weird thing out in the desert and all that sort of stuff. It was like, all right, that's pretty great. I like those more than the prequels because they were so much more analog.
Yeah,
in so many ways.
And certainly they tried to. I mean, the thing that made me, I'll never look at the prequels as great films because he's very awkward with dialogue. He's very awkward with direction. Weird direction for the actors. So it's always going to be a disconnect of what you actually see on screen. My thought was always that Lucas was a great idea, man. World building, very deep on that. Like he had figured out the lore of this universe and this world. The execution wasn't that strong. Right. Like he needed a filter for these concepts and ideas to pass through to sort of humanize and warm them up to be more digestible by an audience. Like I thought what Irvin Kershner did with Empire was sort of the best example of that. And also having, as screenwriting, one of the finest rising screenwriters of that time step in and do a pass on that.
Yeah, I think it was the wrong prequel trilogy.
It felt like reading a Wikipedia entry.
Well, but it's not that interesting because you already know everything. Like it like almost like Phantom Menace should have ended right before Phantom Menace started. like I know this stuff. Everyone's already talked about it. We know what happens just from the films, and there were no surprises, and you can't transcend the cultural footprint of those first three. All you're going to constantly be doing is comparing it, like everyone, like it's part of popular mythography now. Like you can't. Nobody cares about Achilles before the Iliad, right? So like, all right, you've told the Iliad, like.
Yeah, they're always gonna feel like supplemental material to the original films.
There's a thing that sort of young writers will do where they're like, all right, I want to do a story. Okay, but first, before I do that story, I have to do a prequel to this. It's like you don't have to do the story that sets the thing up. Like, just tell the awesome story. And I think a great example of that, another example of it not working is like, and I recognize why it had to happen, but like bifurcating Dune. It's like, oh, you've made the Phantom Menace version of Dune. It works as one contained experience, whether it's a book or one very long film. But like, oh, it's 3 hours of setup is not like it bummed me out. But I know that I'm certain when the sequel comes out, watching them as one piece will be incredibly satisfying. But just watching the first half of Dune is like watching guys set up chess pieces and not actually play. We're just going to watch the board get set up.
Yeah, I mean, it's the difficulty in translating in book form when you have, when you're reading a book, you're in for that ride.
Yeah. Now is that Dark Vader?
So this is Dagobah Vader. So I'm assuming this is going to have a
musky cave
helmet.
Smell.
Yeah. Nothing like a mildewy Vader.
It'll look like a weird head shaven Narcan.
The problem, these are the hardest packages to get open. At least they don't have tape, but they have these weird information cards that come with them with all the various stats you'd want as you were playing with your figures.
Hang on, everybody. Hang on. Get the cards.
We're gonna figure
this out. Who is stronger, Sebulba or Grand Moff Tarkin? Let's go to the cards, gentlemen.
Now, once the films were out, let's go back to your collecting, because I don't, I've never really gotten a sense of So I'm assuming, as a kid, what were the big things that you were interested in, keen on, toy
No,
wise?
Star Wars first and foremost. It all kind of starts there. And it's funny, I'm going through like 3 families worth of photographs going back to the 20s to kind of have digitized and everything. So I was going through photos last night and saw like pictures of me at Christmas 1978, which means I had just turned 3, and I got like a Millennium Falcon that Christmas. But like that was, so I had just turned 3 weeks earlier. And like, so I saw Star Wars when I was 2, and I remember it. I remember going. I remember the whole, thing. But which started because there was a kid with Star Wars figures that was in the building we lived in, and I wanted to know what those were and what it was from. Does the helmet come off?
Let's see.
Oh, but the cape is vaguely see-through. That's how you know he's not real.
Yeah,
It's from Vader's sheer. It's Vader Knights. It's his luxurious.
Well, we sorted out the head question. Wow. Okay. Well, that's a trigger action.
That is appropriate, though.
Well, that just looks like he's wearing a gown.
Yeah. It's his
lingerie
smock. No, Betty Draper wore that in Mad Men season 2.
The Vader summer collection. Those hot Dagobah nights. Yeah, let's look at this.
Are you a Marilyn or are you a Darth?
I mean, he's sort of smoky all the way through.
I do like that they have started to go back and give the red tint
to the eyes.
Just that dumb little details, I remember having the Monolith Laserdisc set, that was all in C8. They were like, you had to flip them every 20 minutes, but there was Laserdiscs of Star Wars. It's like the last time that that
was the definitive edition, right?
Yeah.
At the time, the definitive.
Yeah, but it was the last time that the unspecialized versions had been released. And it was CAV, so you could go frame by frame. I don't remember just poring over all the little details that VHS tape never quite could.
Well, also the first widescreen presentation that you could own.
Yeah.
This is a fun little representation. I wish it had a swampable head, or the sort of half loop.
I know the head popping off is pretty great though. Make it happen again. Pop his head off again.
Let's see if I'm going to lose this.
Vader had a baby and his head popped off. Ah! Jesus Christ.
Yep, it's gone. Well, you know what? He's just going to be like this now because I'll find that later. Can he stand with it? Yeah, he can balance. There we go. The headless Vader of Sleepy Hollow.
Yep.
You know what?
It's not enough Christopher Walken action figures.
I've been waiting for a good time to open this, and this seems appropriate. Where did I put it? I had been wanting to get this figure for a while. That I knew it had existed. It came out in 2002. I finally got a copy of it. I finally got one of them. But
is that the guy? That's the guy from the
Star Tours. This is Paul Rubens, voiced by Paul Rubens, and the original version of Star Tours. Sold in the Disney parks. This was $10 in 2002.
That's like $400 in today money.
Got a view of the original Star Tours vehicle. There's the Q. There's R2 and C-3PO. You've been on Star Tours a couple of times, right?
Oh yeah, sure.
We went. Did we do?
We did that together.
Because Star Tours is in Tomorrowland.
It's worth $16.99 now, Ken.
$10
in 2002 money, $17.
Which is what the current SRP for this scale of figures is now.
Jesus Christ!
Well, these are all I'm just gonna put that to the side.
Yeah, no, we did it a couple of times.
to see if we could get the different. But what we kept getting the Wookiee planet, right?
We got the Wookiee planet a couple of times. Yeah.
The best
It
ending
was
is
middle, but the middle was different, so it was different enough. And Henry liked it. I remember it was also really hot, so it was nice to just kind of go and.
Did Henry get to be the spy?
No, unfortunately.
I thought one of us got picked for the spy on one of those rides. There's a nice image. Yeah, there's the original.
Mm-hmm.
But now you can see we saw him in Galaxy's Edge. He's the DJ.
Yeah, now he's
in
spinning
the cantina now.
Yeah.
In fact,
nothing like a middle-aged DJ.
We can compare them, different scales, but let's see if I can get him out here. There we go. This is the Black Series DJ version of Rex. Let's compare them. So, meaning that it's the 6-inch scale. Oh, do you like that?
Yeah, it's great.
I was wanting to incorporate more action shots into the show.
Sure.
Oh, and we did 3D, so it's perfect for Star Tours.
Yeah.
So he's got an arm out the back that I'm going to try not to break. So do you remember what the first figure you opened was on that Christmas morning, or which one mattered to you the most?
I had gotten some before that. It was some part of that original range. But it was before I had seen. So I'm pretty sure I would have seen the movie before getting the Falcon. So yeah,
so the movie came out May of '77. Was still in release for that entirety of that next year. You could still.
I feel like I saw it in fall of '78.
And then the figures did not come out until after the new year in '78. So your first Christmas to be able to get them would have been Christmas of '78.
Yeah. So I think I saw the movie around fall of '78 because I have an image in my head of it being kind of cold and rainy, and it feels like in April kind of thing. So I feel like it was around then. But yeah, and I remember playing with them, but sort of making up my own stories of who they were and who got along with whom and what everybody did. I know that I got 3PO. I know I got Vader. Pretty sure Chewbacca was there. I'm a little sketchy on the first, whatever the first one was.
The first 12.
But my personal ones. I'm a little sketchy on what
I think that first year you would have gotten the Vader, Han, Leia, Luke, Obi-Wan,
3PO, R2, Sandperson, Jawa,
Stormtrooper, and Vader. And I think that was the entire first wave.
That sounds right. Tusken Raider, I know. The thing, like at one point I had, and still do, I gave them all to my kid, but like every figure but's like 2 or 3 of the Power of the Force line.
Right, the 85.
I was really fastidious about them and held on to them with the idea that one day I would give them to my kids, which I then did.
Henry must have been thrilled to. And now, how does he display that? Does he display them? Does he have them in a box? Or?
No, it's funny. He was never. They've got computers, right? So, figures were never toys, and action figures were never really his primary mode of play. He did, but he would just kind of display them more than anything. He really he's got some stuff in his room that he displays, but it tends to now. He's got some of the big ones, the Black Series.
Yes, that's the 6-inch scale. That's
that's like
this Tarkin.
Yeah, like Grandma Tarkin. He's got like Mandalorian and the heavy battle of Mandalorian. He's got some of those guys up, but also like he's got like a Jason and a Michael Myers and a Xenomorph, and he's super into horror and stuff like that. But the funny thing is that so I gave him all of my stuff. He was getting stuff, and then when Greg Rucka's kids, Dash and Elliot, kind of aged out, they bequeathed unto Henry a shitload of stuff.
So he got more of the modern,
just like he was just swimming in it, which he loved and appreciated and adored. But it was it's no
harder
comparison with Fortnite and Minecraft. You know what I mean?
Right. Well, now Star Wars is fully in Fortnite as well. So
yeah. But I would play with figures endlessly. It was sort of my primary. We also moved around like every year and a half, 2 years, so like I was alone a lot as a child.
Now was most of your play creating your own storylines, your own expressions of
and then sort of as Star Wars sort of faded out, got into like GI Joe and Transformers, more GI Joe than Transformers, but had a fair amount. But that was always spend these days setting up these giant stories that I would then run around and act out or whatever.
So who was your go-to GI Joe?
That one I do remember my first, because I wasn't allowed to play with them for a long time. But Storm Shadow remains my favorite. Storm Shadow and Tomax and Zaymot were like the first three that I got.
Could you tell the two apart? Who had the collar to the left? Who had the collar to the right?
It was the scar. Tomax had the scar, or Zaymot. One of them had the scar. Oh yes, remember when you could see through R2-D2's head?
Well, what is his name? This is from Star Tours, the original Star Tours. This is one of the Q.
Oh, droids. Like when you're waiting in the line. Oh, that's right. R3D3. Yeah, right. When you do that dog leg to the right.
Yeah. Okay. So this when they're populating. Right. I have a couple more elsewhere, including the geese. Do you know about the geese that are in the Star Tours queue?
Maybe.
So
not off the top of memory now.
You remember the in the modern queue there is the one droid that is doing the luggage scanning and commenting on it, and he has like a long neck and sort of binocular eyes. That is an unskinned goose animatronic from America Sings.
Fantastic.
And if you look, the feet on it are metal versions of the web toes.
You sent me the picture of the unskinned Abraham Lincoln, right?
Yes.
That should be it. I would buy that. I'd buy the shit out of that.
I'd commission that as a print.
Life size Robo Lincoln.
Yeah, if anyone is ever in I don't know why you would be as of right now, but if you're in Florida at Disney World in Hollywood Studios, they have sort of like a history of Disney little section, and they have the original, as you said, the test animatronic, which is just Lincoln's head on a robot body standing next to the control panel for him. It's very creepy and very now, would you have that in your home if someone said
100%? So fast it'd make your head spin.
What is your office set up like in that regard? Do you have collectibles on display?
I was sort of, but like it's all sentimental stuff. It's all memento-y kind of stuff. There's not a lot of, I don't really have a thing I think of as like an active collection. I certainly have accumulations. But
I would consider books.
Yeah, I mean, like clearly,
as
right?
Well.
Sure, yeah. But I mean, I was thinking about it. In fact, you were kind of trying to get Chip to yes and your concept. I've started to try and acquire as many editions of Moby Dick as I can. I've got some movie posters that I realized that, like, oh, if I ever got like, I realize I've sworn a couple times. Is it okay if I swear?
That's fine.
Okay, I realize like if I got like fuck you money, like fuck you rich guy, like
Right.
I would absolutely collect film posters from around the world. Oh, it's Amidala with her hair up.
This is it's one of her decoys. This is Sabe. This
Oh,
is Keira Knightley.
it's Keira Knightley, right, right. Behold, Keira Knightley's corpse.
And look at the balloon animals they did.
The chocolate raspberry croissant.
Oh no! Now I'm very hungry now.
Right. Yeah. Chocolate raspberry croissant sounds pretty good. You know,
So what's the earliest edition of Moby Dick that you have?
It's very very recent. I think I've got a
Like, how are
a
you going about it?
penguin.
Is it just it? Are you looking for foreign translations? Are you looking for covers that
We're
strike your
literally talking about
fancy?
a thing like I consciously, yeah, a little bit like that. Like, as a rule of thumb, a little bit like Spider-Man. It's like Moby-Dick, but it's a book that's been in the public domain for like 130 years. So anybody can print anything. And like, I have a couple of nice editions of Moby Dick that does not have the hyphen, you know? So it's like, wow, that's really something. Um, um,
What
I've
is
got
your
a penguin. Yeah, it's not very, but it's a very recent, like as of like literally this summer. I was like, oh, you know what? I wouldn't mind some editions of Moby Dick. That'd be fun. But like, whenever I leave,
like if you're in a bookshop, do you go to see what editions they have just for
I've started. Yeah, I've started to. But also like, whenever if I'm in another country, I will go to a bookstore and try to buy a book that I feel is in some ways emblematic or representative, if anything else, in my own with my own association of that country's body of literature. So I have like a weird collection of books that don't make any sense until I say, oh no, I got these in Japan and I got this in
so it's
Singapore
an
and I got this in
emotional
Brazil.
context
Yeah, yeah. Well, I went
attached
to
to it.
London and you know I bought a copy of Great Expectations. Like not remarkable, like imaginative, not particularly expensive editions, but it's just like it's like oh, this is a edition of a book that I associate with that country, with that place, with its literature. Um,
I mean, for the longest
and you
time,
know,
my thing was like when I would go to any trip, when I was doing conventions more regularly, or just out of town travel, I would stop at a comic shop as my obligatory design. I want to look around what their comic shops are, but I would buy at least, if they had one issue to continue filling out my Fantastic Four list.
Fantastic Four run. Yeah, you got to be close. How far away are you?
I think for what are they up to? Almost 700 now. I think I'm missing 200 total.
Okay.
Like I think I have nearly everything from 150 on solid.
Okay.
And then just missing here and there past 400.
Mm-hmm.
A handful of issues. And then I think I have about 35% of 1 to 100.
Okay.
Which isn't bad considering how, and I don't care about condition.
Yeah.
It's more just, having that. And I like feeling and looking through something that feels like it's seen some love and reading
Sure.
and use.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Also much less expensive.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I guess the other thing is if I ever collect things, it is pure sentimental value, you know? It's funny, like I would get, a lot of like the reaction figures would appeal to me, and I'd open them up or whatever because I'd never kept things on a card or anything, and there it was fine, but also I realized like, oh, it's really the packaging is part of the nostalgic charge. It's not like, haha, now I'm going to play with my Eddie from Iron Maiden action figure or whatever. I just like having Eddie, right?
You're not setting up a little play area of all of them to interact in.
Yeah, it's weird, but like, oh, so like I'll put stuff out, or yeah, everything is all sort of sentimental for whatever reason, one way or the other.
What is the oldest thing that, I mean, you've given Henry some of the collection? Is there anything that you've retained that had enough value to you to retain and keep on display as a little piece of?
I have my Boba Fett. That was always my favorite figure. So
And how would
I've
you
got that
treat your figures? Is it in good? Were you were you a rough
uh,
player, or were you?
No, I wasn't rough, but like they've seen wear. I don't know that anybody has their guns anymore.
That is
But
not a good
like
Mark
I
Hamill.
was never like a rubber cement and matches and magnifying glass, and I wasn't a toy torturer. You know?
You weren't a Sid.
Yeah, right.
So who does it look like? This is not
It
Mark
looks like
Hamill.
It looks like Mark Hamill after the plastic surgery. It looks like Mark Hamill in Empire.
So basically, now it really
There you
nails
go.
the
See,
Mark.
look, it's perfect. Look at that.
You got his X-wing helmet we can put on.
Nice.
Well, that is kind of a little nerdy.
Well, it just kind of the helmet's so overscaled relative to the head, it makes it
Flying
look
my
like
X-wing, like he's pod racing.
his pupils are right at the center of the Flavin. Fly.
Yeah, it's very much. Well, speaking of the Boba Fett, they just recently released one of their modern figures, but in the Kenner colors.
Like that's the other thing. Like, yeah, it's forever that blue to me. Rather than the green. That one I might have to keep my eye out for. I have a bunch of them. They used to sort of sit up on the bookshelf. But I don't know. But like, there's a thing of one of the many things I've been doing to try and occupy my time has been I clean and organized my bookshelves, and so all the little shit on the shelves came off. Because it just inevitably looked like clutter.
Right. I don't know what you're talking about. How that could ever happen, or
so I try to keep a minimal footprint, but over time, it just crap accumulates.
Well, you also, I mean, for the past solid year, you've been doing a lot of travel. You've been constantly on the go, so I can see where a lot of that. And you had only recently moved into the house in the past couple of years, so do you feel settled now? Does the house finally feel fully moved into?
more settled after this summer, but like I've literally just gotten through some of the things that I hadn't done. I had books up on the shelves, but they were all just thrown up on the shelves, and that was good enough. And I was like, it's organized by the Dewey Decimal System now.
Whereas before it was, I just got to get these boxes.
It was comics are over here and other books are over here, right? We have a stock room of all the stuff that the books we used to sell when we would do shows and sell stuff. Like getting that organized and inventoried, I just got that done, and organizing my comics that had just been thrown into boxes for years. It's interesting that like when I was younger and needed money either for food or drugs, my comics would always be the first thing that I sold. I was never terribly sentimental about them then, but I'm finding that I wish I had some of them still, and I'm thinking of like, oh, maybe I'll go back and re-get the runs of stuff that I like
because those stories meant something to you.
Yeah, even though so rarely do they hold up, and they're always better and almost always better in memory than execution. But it's also like I like the ads, I like and I know it's all available. I would get like reprints or whatever and be like, oh great, now I have this reprint. But like, man, I don't know. Give me a ColecoVision ad.
There's something about seeing that 4-color process.
Yeah, that's another huge part of it for me.
And how much of the coloring relied upon the fact that you'd have a texture because of those dots. Texture.
Yeah.
That is just wholly missing when that's gone in modern printings, and you're like, this feels sterile. This feels like you could have the best coloring you can buy in that translation as far as bringing it to digital coloring, cleaning it up, and removing. But that newsprint had a texture of its own, even beyond that, and a coloration of its own.
Yeah,
so you could get shadings
process.
Yeah, shadings that didn't exist because of the color; they existed because of the medium.
Yeah. Oh, you know, if folks watching this, you know, I've you know, a lot of comic original art is outside of my collector's price range, but sometimes on eBay you can find coloring guides, which are like photostats of original pencil art with colorist notes and planning for how it would be colored in the, you know, in a 4-color printing process. They're kind of more of a production artifact than they are an art artifact, but it's a cool kind of interim step. Wait, is the whole head see through?
So this is the Emperor's Wrath.
Oh,
This is the end of Return of the Jedi.
oh, that's literally the 6 frames
Of when
where
you
the
see
Emperor is
sort of
zapping him
X-ray
with
effect.
electricity. Yeah.
And so there's the
And you can see
skull.
those were some of the frames that I would go frame by frame and look at all the cybernetics and mechanics inside of Vader.
With that hand-drawn electrical animation on it.
Yeah. Do they have any machine parts in there, or is it just kind of like a skull?
I think you only saw the skull in the frame by frame. Let me see if I
No,
can.
he has like bits all
So they've
over him.
drawn some lightning. I can't
Mhm.
really see. The lightning is drawn on the inside of the helmet. Can get the light. There we go. The light play on it.
And then lower it down like a centimeter. There you go. Ooh. What a weird, morbid figure.
Does he
It's
have
like
the?
Mars Attacks. It's like Mars Attacks and
I mean, I love the mining when they're just mining for every little moment.
oh yeah, yeah.
You don't see that as much today, just because of cost.
Sure.
That but considering this was like a $7 figure, and
That's great.
they had
$7 for a see-through Vader skull. Okay,
and they had space to fill. You know, they kept churning these things out. Why not have the 6-frame Emperor's Wrath figure to just give you another Vader to add to your collection?
It's weird that it's weird to me that I would suspect that toy tie-in money is a far smaller revenue generator now than it used to be.
I think
Um,
I
or
think
maybe
you
they're making the same money selling fewer figures, but at a $25 price point or whatever.
well, I think you put your finger on it earlier when you mentioned sort of Henry's relation to toys. Like
I just
these are
don't know the
not
kids. I just don't know
like
the
to
kids
now
play their
they're
toys with.
collectibles.
Right.
Like it's fascinating to sort of step back and look at what our generation has done to pop culture, and in some ways the arrested development of and sort of lock on certain properties that are kept around, maybe beyond shelf life, maybe they should be retired, but just, you know, but our nostalgia is so dominant in what is made available, what the focus of entire companies' bottom line is to produce collectible merchandise, frankly, for us. Like the you know, kids today, you're not going to buy a $20 figure
Yeah.
in the amount that we got to play with
Right.
today. Kids are not going to get 10 figures for their birthday. They might get
Right.
a figure of the character they really like from the thing they maybe care about.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah,
you
it's
know,
there's a whole yeah, and I was never I certainly played video games, but not like my son or even daughter do. Part of that, I just was never a video game kid. I was always a figure kid, so I feel like that's like, oh, that was where it came from. Just like it's a different mode of play. And like, look, when Fortnite and Minecraft are free, uh, uh and you get to play with your friends, and it's like, oh man, it's hard to compete. Comics, I think, are facing the similar kind of thing.
but I think
And also inflation doesn't help, that
no, that it's simply not affordable to just
yeah.
buy in the ways that we got toys.
Yeah.
as
Yeah, yeah,
kids.
yeah. Right. Like, look, it's inflation and wage stagnation. Like,
But also, I
so
mean,
you still pay your
comics.
kids five. You still pay your kid $5 a week for allowance, but like that does much less than it used to.
But comics, it seems, is facing the thing that it's faced even from we were reading as a kid. Like, what are the jump on points for a kid to pick up a book? What are the titles for a kid to pick up a book? And I'm not
Yeah.
saying that they have to be juvenile in any way, because I don't think the stories that we were reading as kids were juvenile in any way. But I do think that there was more of a focus on having an issue feel like a somewhat, I'm not going to say self-contained. It felt satisfying. If I picked up an issue of a comic, I generally felt satisfied that I got a story out of that comic, even if there was plot elements that were running into
Sure.
the element of the stories that were going forward. Because I never could guarantee that I'd walk into the 7-Eleven a couple of weeks from them and see the next issue.
Yeah.
I might see the one after that.
Yeah.
There are some stories that took 10 years before I ever got the
Sure.
final issue of that story.
Yeah.
And while I was always
I mean,
curious, I never felt like, oh, well, these other issues are garbage
right.
now.
Yeah. Yeah, I think comics are in a real state right now. I mean, I don't worry for the longevity of the medium, but I think that it's mainstream superhero comics are barking up some wrong trees with some bad dogs. I don't know.
I don't understand. I think so many industries just don't know who their audience is.
Right. Well,
And
I
I
mean, that's the
think,
problem, right? Yeah, yeah.
and I think a lot of audiences don't know what they want either, because the market is so confused. Like if a kid says, I want to read a Superman thing, let's say, what do you point them towards? Like, where's the easy entry point to just give a kid a Superman thing that's not just going to be a one-off? Like, how do you create an audience that is retained for any length of time? Like, I could find a nice Superman story or trade that's like, oh, this is fun, try this. That doesn't necessarily get them going to the comic shop to buy the next issue of Superman that's on the stands.
Right. Well, and I mean, but what's cover now? $4.99, $3.99? Like,
oh yeah, I mean, it's
for a
for
20-page story,
single issue. That because of how serialized things are now, you're not walking away from that satisfied. You're stuck in the middle of a long ongoing story.
I mean, some of it I think is sensibility. Some of it is the realization that we're writing for collection. Some of it is,
which is not sustainable financially to produce if you're aiming to only get your sales at the collection end of it.
Well, no, but it's the understanding that, like, hey, this comic is only really on sale for 6 days, right? But the collection will be on sale forever. So I think there's a lot of kind of that I don't know. There's a lack of curiosity about the craft on the point of people that make it. I think there's a lot of there's a lot of yeah. I just don't think people are asking themselves that question a lot. Maybe I'm wrong. And if they are, then I guess I disagree with whatever their answers are. I mean, like, I worked at Marvel for 4 years, writing many books before I ever wrote a splash page, because it was so acutely aware of the economics that, like, 1/20th of my story is going to be one image. Like, oh my god, it's really got to, like, it was a thing I was really obsessed about. It was
right.
it was I do not come from money. So like I remember what getting ripped off feels like, and I remember how hard it was to, you know. So I don't know. It's a. I think we're in a place where the mainstream needs to kind of re-examine its modularity, because like people can argue about, you know, what's a hit and what's not a hit, but any one of those conversations that don't begin and end with the words Raina Telgemeier is disingenuous. Like, you can buy Raina books at Target and Costco. Nobody gives a shit about what you're doing, Mark Miller. Like, it's a different order of scale, you know.
Right.
Like oh, the people were starving for comics, just not the kind of comics that Marvel and DC were making. Like,
Right.
there's. I remember getting into an argument once with a retailer about what the best-selling books of the year were this particular year, and it was a year when there was a Pokemon comic that came out, and they've made 3 million copies of it, and they sold them at GameStop. And Diamond, the primary distribution network at the time, had distributed all of those, but even Diamond didn't put Pokemon on their year's best-selling comic list. It didn't count. It was like, same mechanism, same distribution arm, same production, but it doesn't count because comic stores didn't order it, only video game stores order it.
Right.
And it was like,
even though that is capturing the
it
exact
was like,
audience that need to be captured to.
Yeah. It was like, listen, if every single customer is breaking down your door wanting to buy bananas and all you got is apples, it doesn't mean that people don't want to buy apples. It means you're not selling what they want to buy, right? And these people are, so like, you know, I like,
Also,
the reason
you
they
need to
put
get them in the door.
bestseller. Yeah.
And if you get them in the door and they're buying the apples, they may see your oranges and decide to buy those too.
You know, they'd taken the graphic novel bestseller list out of the New York Times because it tended to always be the same wave of books. And then they put it back in because they realized that it was disingenuous not to show what those books were selling, because graphic novels have kept independent bookstores open the last 5 years. The order of magnitude the graphic novels sell compared to the best-selling fiction and nonfiction books, like literally add a 0 to the end of the comic numbers, and that's what it sells, right? A best-selling book on the graphic novel chart might sell 10,000 copies. I bet you could go count 10,000 copies of Smile at a Costco tonight, right? Like, the order of magnitude is unbelievable.
But is that part of, you know, sort of that argument on the direct market side of things?
Yeah, that's what I meant when I said I don't worry for longevity of the medium. People love comics. People can't get enough comics. People aren't interested in paying $5 for 20 pages of superhero comics. That's, you know, 20 pages of 3 panels each, and, you know,
the market shrunk itself.
Sure. Yeah. And
I mean,
you know,
as you try and, you know, and it's this weird, I think it plays into a lot of things we're dealing with, you know, when everyone's talking about, you know, venture capital and its deleterious effects, and the hedge funds, and you know, what we're seeing with the closures of things like Toys R Us, and sort of the pillaging of these for a quick profit and no desire to have sustainability. Where
that's
the direct market, as originally conceived, was great for the companies in a short-term view of, oh, we don't have to deal with returns, we don't have to overprint, we can guarantee exactly what's going out. But in doing so, you eliminated the market of introducing readers in a supermarket, in a newsstand, all these places where, as you're saying, at a Costco, where kids could encounter these books, these characters, that cover that goes, oh, that looks interesting. And you relegate it to a dedicated store. And I love comic book stores. I love them. And I love the ones that are run with, you know, a love and a dedication for trying to bring people into the medium. But I don't think that is an end all be all. It should be part of an overall ecosystem.
Yes. And I think that there's a failure. I think much like toy people, as you're saying, like, oh, these are collectibles marketed at 20 to 35-year-olds, not 8 to 10-year-olds. You know what I mean? There's a price point. there's a lack of, you know what I mean? Like, oh, this is aimed at a nostalgia market rather than a juvenile
Right.
market or whatever. And also, like, I'm just, all right, so just basic math. Smile by Raina Telgemeier, the first version of Smile is list priced at $13.99 and is 224 pages. Let's say 200 of that is comic. Compared to $4.99 for 20 pages of a monthly superhero comic. Just the math isn't there.
But even if you're comparing that, like if you look at the trade, like what's the SRP on the Jimmy Olsen trade? That's out, so that's a major publisher.
Well, again, Jimmy Olsen is priceless.
I know, you and I both know that.
Let's see. I don't know. I don't. That's a fine question. Let's find out why. When?
Because because I can tie this into an argument that goes around in collectors circles about these action figures that I've been opening, and it's a
$30. It's a $30 trade, but it is 320 pages.
Right. And beautiful pages.
Fantastic pages. Compared to, so it's, wow, that's I mean,
but
so it's actually it's $18 cheaper than cover price of the original issues,
which is stunning when you're thinking about.
Yeah, I had never done that before. Just now, I'm like, shit, that's, yeah.
So then you get into that argument of, if the issues were cheaper, would you have sold more? Because
Yeah. I was so obsessed with that. The first comic I ever wrote with staples in it, I priced at $2 when the going concern of comics were $3.50. It was a $2.99 comic, and no, it was a $1.99 comic. I'm sorry. So I priced it at $1.99. Going concern was $3.50. And I had a retailer tell me once that I would rather not sell an $8 IDW book I don't know anything about than not sell your $2 book I don't know anything about. Because if the $8 book sells, I make $8. If yours sells, I only make $2. Like, that was the kind of operating wisdom through a lot of the direct market when I kind of started in 2000.
Completely disregarding the notion that but if you don't sell that $8 book.
Yeah, but these are also the same people that said, women and children will never read comics. That audience has left us. It's like, no, they just don't want to read your comics. They just don't want to go to the android's dungeon.
I want to show you, and I'll use this even though this is the closest one I have. So this is a modern action figure body. So it's super articulated. You got like rocker ankles on this thing.
He's not going to slip on banana peels.
He's not going to, or it's going to be hilarious because of how limber. I mean, he can do in new and interesting ways that you couldn't do with that Boba Fett figure that's sitting on your shelf. Right. So all this articulation, but standard action figure POA, if we pull, this Vader over here, you got five POA. You got 2 arms, 2 legs,
shoulder,
and that's it.
Yeah.
That's all you got. Collectors will complain, modern adult collectors, if you get a 5 POA figure that can be as beautifully sculpted and painted and a representation. I mean, look at the sculpt.
That's Khaleesi. Anybody would say. Anybody knows. That's Khaleesi right there.
I mean, that is an incredible action figure. But they'll go 5 POA garbage. Don't want it. Even though this is cheaper for the company to produce and sell at a price point because it's only that 5 POA. This is a figure that is an easier entry point for a kid to pick up and get into a action figure line. This is just going to be for adult collectors who can afford it. and who are getting older and are going to die off, and these things are going to go away.
Yeah.
Because you haven't created the generational audience that's going to give a shit about these things moving forward. Because you and I have an emotional attachment to Boba Fett because we played with Boba Fett when we were kids.
Mm-hmm.
This character has an endurance because of the emotional attachment we formed as a child.
Ken, I had a quick question for you, and I like to ask this of any kind of Star Wars collector that I know. What was the name of the kid in your neighborhood who swore they had the Boba Fett with the missile firing backpack? In my neighborhood, that kid's name was Mark. Yours was Eric. All right.
Yes, mine was an Eric.
Yeah, I knew Mark.
He never could produce it.
No, it was always at his dad's house.
Mine was he had it before they moved from the last base they were stationed at.
I left the mustache, sure.
So no, if you had known when we were stationed back in Tennessee, then you could have seen. But I can tell you all about it though.
Is it next to your?
Is it a Pedro Pascal head? Is that what you're about to ask?
Yeah, is that what that is?
It is. That is from the Hot Toys Mandalorian figure.
Wow. Now, we talked about my question about Mandalorian, didn't we? Or was it maybe, did I not bring it up?
What was your question?
Oh, it may have actually been before Mandalorian started. Okay, so everybody knows Mandalorians, they don't take their helmets off. No one sees them without their helmets. Just them, right? Helmets stay on. That's the whole thing, right?
Right. That's what yes, in modern lore for the Mandalorian, yes.
Now, there's other sects that are looser with those regulations, but our guy comes
is a
from
fundamentalist.
Fundamentalist Mandalorian. So that little mustache, that's just for him.
Oh yeah, no, this is the only expression that he.
Yeah. That little mustache, like I would want to do that story of like, why do you have a mustache? No one ever sees you.
He doesn't have a full beard, so he doesn't let he has to curate just retaining a mustache.
Just for his own taste. It's his own, it's just for his own. Much like wanting to know why IG-88 needs money, wanting to know why he's got a little mustache. Those are the two stories I really ache to tell or to learn about.
So
the Star Wars universe.
Reach out. This will be your Star Wars comic. I mean, Chip.
Well, I was
a Star Wars story.
I did a piece in the first of the anthology books from a certain point of view. I did a story set at the cantina.
Which one was yours?
It had Akmina in it. It was the one about the stolen horn, because there was the one guy who was about to pass out in the modal nodes. And so I wrote a story about the guy who was and to my credit, I wrote a whole story without once referring to the music as jizz, knowing canonically that style of music is referred to as jizz.
Yep. Although they've changed that.
Yeah.
They've now introduced other names that are used throughout the galaxy. Sometimes it's referred to as other things. In fact, in the new Certain Point of View book for Return of the Jedi that just came out, they've attempted to introduce alternatives to jizz music as the term.
But it was Henry's favorite scene, and so me and Kelly Sue, we did this kind of story about that guy's horn disappearing, and this whole kind of watchwork caper going on in the cantina that ended up being predicated on Dr.
Evazan?
Yeah, getting killed. And there was a bet, and it made it to, like, I went through and like watched, so like every time, like there was if you had read the story, you would like, that was the reason why the editing sequence was that editing sequence. It went from this character to that character to that character for specific
So
it
your
was a
plot
very
followed the
silly,
cutting.
and Akmina showed up. So the B. Arthur character showed up, and it was it starts with a guy trying to pawn the jizz horn, the clue horn. It was called the Cantina clue horn caper. He's trying to pawn the clue horn that he has stolen from the night before, and he's trying to tell a joke about a famous clue horn player, and that doesn't make anyway. It was fun.
So you could cut your story to the film.
Yeah, nothing anywhere invalidates the story, and I thought, oh, it's interesting. Now the devil guy, he's got a reason to be there, and this guy's got a reason to be there, and everybody's up to a thing for a reason. Everyone's paired up for specific reasons.
Did you have the married Duros in it? It's he and his wife having a conversation that we say.
I don't remember. Probably it's at this point been long enough that I.
Alora's Medak is this one.
But then after I wrote, and that was a thing where Henry was trying to collect all of the characters from that little
Cantina
thing we did. That was fun. Just from like the story that we did, because we had his favorite characters were in that sequence.
So the only one he couldn't get is an Akmina. Did you get a custom Akmina for him?
I have not, no, but I am certain there will be one day.
Well, now we have a Life Day Chewbacca figure coming up.
It seems to me that if all they're doing is juicing middle-aged men, like who
appreciates both Star Wars and Golden Girls,
a Star Wars holiday. No, but like, come on, but like a Star Wars holiday set with like Itchy and Mala, Lumpy, and with Art Carney's weird
technician,
the technician, and then Harvey Korman's weird Julia Child lady robot and Akmina. You could put together.
And he also is in the cantina as the customer pours the drink in his head.
You could put together a 7-8 figure set for $100, $150. That
sold only in the parks.
Dozens of people would buy. There are dozens of us.
You'd have that set. You'd buy that set, right?
I'd steal Akmina from someone else's set.
No one would give up their Akmina. They'd track you down. They'd notice if Akmina was missing.
Yeah.
Is that going to be the next story you write? Is the Akmina figure heist?
Yeah. It was a lot of fun to get to dance in between those raindrops, My friends Ben Acker and Ben Blacker did a thing about the stormtrooper that hits his head.
If folks are not familiar with Thrilling Adventure Hour, they
please check out the
writers behind that.
But yeah.
So you got an extra one. Does he use two different blasters? Why does he come with an extra blaster?
Because you're going to lose one.
No,
and she can't even dual wield.
You're only saying that because I've already lost Vader's head.
Yeah, that's true.
She cannot. She's
got
dual
wield.
I mean, this is locked in that position.
Yeah. Which is an interesting compromise between the limited points of articulation and the multiple points. All right, so you're only getting 5 points of articulation, but you're not getting the, Well,
now which do you prefer? Because this, for me, play-wise, if I were a kid, this sort of locks it specifically in that scene and moment.
Yeah, but it was. Do you remember? I was working in a comic book shop when they started to put Star Wars stuff out again, and there were two. It was like post McFarlane toys, so the idea of what toys were kind of starting to change. But there were two really ripped. There's a ripped Han and a ripped Luke and a ripped Chewbacca. And the Chewbacca and Han were so broad-shouldered, they didn't change the sculpts on the vehicles. They just recreated the original vehicles from the original.
So they couldn't fit the Millennium Falcon anymore.
They literally could not fit in any of the vehicles.
And you couldn't get Obi-Wan in the land speeder with Luke.
Yeah. So that would have bugged the shit out of me when I was a kid.
But that's the thing that's also gone away is the whole.
But they're not making these for kids. They're not making this.
Yeah, because the whole point of having this figure size was so you would be able to have vehicles and play sets.
Mhm.
But now, like the N1 Starfighter, you watch Mando, the Mandalorian. So in the last season, they refit into like a muscle car, one of the Naboo fighters, into like his now little ship. It's not a big ship that he's got, right? So it's basically a 2-seater. It's him and a little bubble for Grogu in the thing. But you know what vehicle I'm talking about?
Yes.
Yes. But you would think kids love playability. They love their Baby Yoda. Here's like a nice, what you would think would be an inexpensive ship that could be a nice play ship for this.
Right. I was whacked out of my gourd on ecstasy and bought a Naboo Starfighter. I didn't even know what the hell it was.
$125 for that N1 Starfighter for the new Mando version that's coming out.
All right. No, this
Who's
is very
getting
clearly not nobody, no adults. This is not being marketed to children.
I mean, even in our, if you count for inflation, I think if what the Millennium Falcon would be $70 in today's dollars.
Oh, let's see what the internet says. So let's see what it's $125. You said
yes.
In $1978. Guess.
What does it say?
Ken. Guess.
In $1978,
I'll give you three. I'll give you three guesses, and I'm going to give it higher, low. If there was a toy, yeah. What is $125, $23? Buy you how many dollars worth of Star Wars in 1978?
50.
Higher.
100.
Higher.
200.
$597.
I mean, that's basically the entire line. How many times over?
At least 5. Yeah, I remember figures being $3. I remember figures being between $3 and $5. You know, like I remember if I could get my hands on $5 or $6, I could get like that was
which was
not,
doable. That's a couple of lawns.
Yeah, that was not a insurmountable, you know. But also comparatively, then,
or you could buy 4 comic books.
That was the other thing, is it was 4 or 5 comics, right?
But even then, that seems fair. Like you would now, yeah, you'd have to buy 3.5 modern comic books to get 1 action figure today.
Yeah. And even adjusted for inflation, 75 cents in 1984, which was when I became a every Wednesday comic shopper, is $2.20. So we're charging twice as much. It's weird. It's not working out.
But also, you can buy, you know, a season pass on Fortnite for $10.
Yeah.
Or you can buy, you know, a skin of your favorite character, or an emote.
Yeah. That was interesting to me to see my son, like that would be what he would save and spend his money on.
Get his V-Bucks for
but it was like
purchases.
Well, it's what he likes. Yeah, like who am I to, you know, rather than me getting him all this stuff and cluttering his room up, you know.
So where does he store all this?
Is that Jedi Leia?
It is. It's General Leia.
General Leia on Endor.
So this
does she have the bloody arm?
This is before she changes into the. She has the. No, does not have the wound.
Well, that's another figure then, right?
Yeah, no, that's in the line from a year.
Is that the only time that there's visible blood? Oh no, the arm at Dr. Evazan getting killed, and
Ponda Baba.
Baba, the Walrus Man.
When his arm is on the
right.
Those but it's not red, right? Isn't it more?
No, his blood is red. Ponda Baba, yeah, his was red.
Oh, and you see some blood on Luke's face in the Wampa cave.
That's something like scratches. You know, those are like
not open.
Yeah, it's
bloody. Yeah. Well, I mean, that's the beauty of a lightsaber, is that
cauterizes the wound instantly. Yeah.
Don't have to deal with all that nonsense.
No.
I think
Although
you
it would
see
have been
them,
interesting if when Vader was force choking somebody, if he would have like force crushed someone's head.
but
That,
like
you
it
know,
accidentally, like oops,
no,
too
no, no,
far.
just like a, you know, that shot of him in Rogue One is so terrific and terrifying that would have been great if in the shadows you see him just like Cronenberging some guy to death.
So, what did you think of Rogue One and Solo?
I thought Rogue One was terrific. I thought Solo was a drag. And man, Solo didn't even hold my kid's attention. I took him and his, best friend to see Solo opening night, and like we weren't even out of the parking lot, and they turned to each other like, "Yeah, it wasn't so good." I was like, "Boy, if you can't keep a kid's interest till we're out of the fucking parking lot." Well, Rogue One is terrific, and I think Andor is. I was certain something like Andor would never exist. So I was, and in fact, Henry was so into Andor that he couldn't go back to Mandalorian. I have not seen this last season of Mandalorian. We watched the first episode and we're like, yeah, this is dumb. I don't care anymore.
So, but is he watching Ahsoka?
No,
Because he's
he
a Clone
might.
Wars fan.
As a Clone Wars guy, he might, but also, I don't know. I mean, he was
Having
so
not seen
sort
what
of,
happened in the latest season, Mando might
but also
be.
like Andor hit him in so many ways, in
Do you
so
think
many
that it's
like,
just the storytelling sort of catching up with his maturity?
yes, yeah, yeah, and in a time where it shared a lot of his concerns, and he was, it's so richly Squid Face. I know it's not his real name, but that's what it used to be.
Tessic, but yes, when we got him, he was squid face. He had cloth.
Yeah, don't even get me started on this whole Forlom Zuckus nonsense.
Oh, so you're old school. You're Kenner.
Oh yeah, it's the hardwired.
So Zuckus is the droid.
Zuckus is the droid with the spider head, with the weird fly spider head, and 4LOM is his buddy. And Zuckus was the one that took me forever to find. I remember that being one that like Zuckus was almost the one that got away.
Did you get every figure in the line up to that end of the line of the Power?
Yeah, and I got like half a Power of the Force.
So do you have like the Han and Carbonite and
yeah, at Han? Yeah. That was kind of that I and one of I think I've got Luke in the Stormtrooper gear. Either Luke and Han in Stormtrooper gear at that line.
No, you only got one of them, right? And you just get Luke. You never got Han.
Oh, maybe that's it. Maybe okay.
Yeah,
Then I got
Luke was part of that Power of the Force.
the big green guy was the one. Adam
Amanaman.
He was the guy. I never had him.
Here's the. Speaking of modern takes, here's the modern. 2002's version of him.
Yeah, he was the one.
Which this seems like this is right up your. I mean, look at how metal this.
Yeah, no, it's pretty great. That's pretty great. Oh God, I wonder if I have to let me look up what that run is. I know maybe he was the only one I never was able to find.
Maybe Yak Face. I think Yak Face was an international release. I wouldn't think you would have gotten that.
Yeah, I wouldn't have had. Yeah, I didn't have Yak. Yeah.
Did he have it? Oh, there's his blaster.
Let's see. Yeah, okay. Endor Luke, I never had the Imperial Gunner. Emperor rates.
Did you get all the Ewoks?
Yeah. Also, that's a bit of hipster revisionism. Nobody under the age of 12 complained about Ewoks. We all loved it. Everybody loved that thing of like, I can't, but I hated it. Like, no, you didn't. You were 8 and you fucking loved it.
Oh yeah, no. The ones who, well, it's interesting if you look back at the footage of it was adults who had seen Star Wars as an adult were the ones coming out of Jedi go, oh, what is it? It's become a kiddie movie? Whether teddy bears and
boy, I got bad news for you, pal. Let's see. All right, I didn't I never managed to find.
Yeah, look, we have a viewer right now. Loved Ewoks.
Yeah,
Own
everybody
it.
loved Ewoks. Everybody's trapper keepers that fall and backpacks and lunchboxes were Ewok bedraggled. Like anybody, like read this, like I was born in 1975, and I'll go on record that if you were, I'd say 12 and under in 1983, you loved Ewoks, and if you're pretending now you didn't, you're lying.
Yeah.
R2 with a lightsaber, he was awesome. I had R2 with a lightsaber.
Oh, nice. That's a hard one to find. Does he still have his lightsaber?
Oh Christ, no.
Oh, that's just a lightsaber. You can put any lightsaber in there.
Yeah, yeah.
The Imperial Dignitary.
Who doesn't love a dignitary?
Who doesn't love a crusty old?
It didn't have the A-wing pilot. Yeah, yak face, Imperial dignity, dignitary, A-wing pilot. Maybe a couple Imperial of gunner. Yeah, so that was it was about half and half. I think about half and half.
But as you said, by 85, a lot of us who were of that initial run were, G.I. Joe, Transformers.
But they were also just really hard to find. And like
He-Man was also
actively, yeah, sure. I thought some of them, yeah.
We had a lot of options.
I was actively, and like my dad worked retail, so I would send him with lists, and when they would get boxes, he would go through inventory when they showed up off the truck. So I was.
Now, were you also getting vehicles at the time as well?
Not as many. Like I never had an X-wing. I had like a TIE fighter and no X-wing. I had a Y-wing. I had a Falcon, but like I was not a.
Did you have a land speeder? Did you have a Tauntaun and
I had a land speeder, Tauntaun, no Wampa.
A Dewback.
It had a Dewback, and I had the troop transport, and
the one from Sears.
It had the sound effects on it,
Yeah.
Yeah, fewer vehicles.
Snow speeder.
Yeah, I had a snow speeder and I had an AT-AT. I remember those for sure. Oh, and the chicken.
That was a heck of a Christmas or birthday ATST. To get that.
Yeah.
AT-AT.
Yeah, that was a big Christmas.
That was like getting the flag.
Yeah.
Did you also lust after that?
In theory, but the reality of even as a kid, like I don't have room for a 6 foot long.
I thought it would double as a bed.
Yeah,
like I thought you could actually just lay on it, and that would be like I could get rid of my bed, and I have my flag to sleep on.
Yeah. But yeah, no, I never had a.
I wanted that in the hovercraft. There were the two main ones that I never got that I always wanted. I like the idea of playing with that hovercraft in a pool and dropping those little depth charges.
The depth charges, yeah, those are
any really vehicle fun. That floated.
Yeah,
I was keen on.
I had the Rattler. That was my favorite G.I. Joe vehicle, the vertical takeoff and landing Cobra plane with all the
with the rotating wings.
Yeah,
that
was good, and the helicopter,
the Dragonfly.
Yeah,
only because it had the trigger.
It would spin the blades. It was really cool.
Because child safety was not as huge a concern when it came to toys.
No.
Look at this IG-88.
Ask him why he needs money. Why are you bounty hunting IG-88? You're a robot. What do you need money for?
Listen, he's got so many droids and so many different ports. You don't understand how many droid families he's supporting.
Henry and I goofing around about that. Like he came up with a really great story about a bounty hunter who had gotten kind of old and decrepit and couldn't hunt, so he had programmed his droid to do it for him. And then he dies, and the droid was never deprogrammed, so the droid is just killing people and banking money that it never accesses. But somewhere there's some account with billions of dollars of. The droid is just waiting to die so he could stop, but all he does is he just can't. That's it. That's all I do.
Boy, he's too good at it.
That's all he does. He's a droid. He doesn't have choice.
Now there's a background character for you.
I'm in it too. It's a cameo.
I'm an extra.
Now, did Admiral Snackbar die in the new trilogy?
He died in Last Jedi in Ryan Johnson's film. He
Yeah,
was
that's
one
right.
of the ones sucked into space.
Right.
A little unceremonious, but war, well, it happens, I guess. He had a good life.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe all live that long and then get sucked out into space.
Yeah. Sea monkeys aren't supposed to make it that long.
And he did it. He defied the odds.
That's
I mean,
weird.
it was nice saying. I mean, again, if you
I
just
love that one. I really enjoyed Last Jedi.
I like the doors it opened up.
Yeah, it was the first. It
That
felt
were
like
then
it grew
quickly shut.
Yeah, it felt like it grew the pie. Rather than cut the same pie into smaller pieces, it felt like it just baked a bigger pie.
I also like the idea that he just sort of came in and was like, "Well, can we think about this?" And sort of,
yeah. I'm really exhausted by stories about secret magical princes and princesses of destiny. I loved the idea of Rey just being a 1 in a million shot.
And it doesn't need to be anything more than that.
Yeah, I thought that was so great and so freeing of all the just like emotional labor of and it literally turns into that joke from Spaceballs, like, oh, it's my cousin's uncle's daughter. Like, what? Anyway, yeah, I last Jedi, I really felt, especially because I had no idea where it was going to go after that.
And also narratively, the criticism he took for Luke's treatment was set up in the film before that. I mean, you set up a Luke who walked away and hid away from all this. How else are you going to find him?
Yeah.
I mean, that's the thing that you haven't seen any of the Ahsoka things, but there's been some people that have had issues with, like, well, she's not the same as she was in the Clone Wars cartoon. She's a teenager,
right?
As a middle-aged person myself now, you're different.
Yeah.
You're there is maybe a somber quality, or at least a reflective quality, that enters into your interactions.
I guess I also didn't feel like, I don't know, like, is Yoda hid out? Obi-Wan, I mean, I guess he was, tasked with watching after Luke or whatever, but like, it didn't feel like it was so wildly out of character. And I bought that, like, oh no, he saw this happening again, and the only way to win and to stop it from happening was to remove himself from doing it. Like, it didn't.
Yeah, I mean, that to me speaks of, like, a sacrifice and a self-awareness.
Yeah.
To, like, oh, maybe I'm the problem, or I could be a problem.
Right.
But also it was fine because then, Rey had to sort of slap him, and I'm fine with the idea of another character having to step in and go, hey, snap out of it.
Yeah, but also that Obi-Wan-esque I'm in exile kind of thing tracked for me. And also, lately, it was just him taking the lightsaber and throwing it into the lake was so unexpected, because everything had been, everything about, I don't know, that movie for me was usurping expectations, which is what I thought, kind of really needed.
Well, and also just what's important.
Yeah.
At that point, is it essentially, what is this, souvenir? Like, what is the power that these objects have?
Yeah. I mean, it was like, that was the message, right? Like, don't have sentimental attachments to this old stuff.
Well, I mean, even, the whole Kylo Ren thing of it all, of, just let's burn down the past.
Yeah. No.
And then for the next film to sort of
walk
all that back.
It's the only time in any of those movies that the bad guys made any kind of sense. Oh, I want to rule everything. Like, I don't really get that, but like, oh yeah, don't let the past destroy you, define you. Like, oh, it's weird to hear the dark side making the light side arguments.
Yeah, and I liked Rey having to do things in spite of Luke.
Yeah.
The idea of empowering her to make a choice to go like, okay, if you're gonna be useless right now and not help,
Yeah.
but I've seen Star Wars. I don't need to see Star Wars again.
Yeah.
I like the idea of at least opening up the conversation to having a discussion about what all this means and why it
Right.
should be still relevant today. Oh, he'll sit there. That's the
And
problem with
you live there now.
within this tableau. Is that what you mean?
No, just you saying that to him. All right, there's your
Yeah.
spot. Now,
No.
Your name is Jeff, and Jeff, you live here now.
Jeff
Your neighbors are Keira Knightley and the robot who needs money for some reason.
Jeff likes his spot in life. Look, he's having a conversation already. He's asking Leo why she came with 2 blasters. But we're gonna do Sassy Tin. The good news is we're nearly to the end of this pile, and then we can wrap it up. Because I'm assuming you need to have dinner.
Yeah, I do. You're right.
So we're going to
great
quickly
idea.
blow through the last of these. But, I kind of did want to ask, since you're in this period where we're waiting for companies to appreciate and compensate the creatives that actually make their money possible.
Mhm.
What are you up to now in this sort of nebulous period? Because I know you were constantly in motion
I
until
was in production and post production on a TV show, and then all that stopped. So I was literally doing everything on my list that
you've been setting aside for the rainy day.
for the last no, just that I didn't because I was in production and pre-production and post-production on a TV show.
The last thing you did was Adventure Man, right? As far
yeah,
as...
and that's still happening. But yeah, no, that's the only comic I'm doing at the moment. But no, I've like refinished a couple of pieces of furniture and painted and patched drywall and like I said, it organized rooms and consolidated 2 storage units. And I've just been doing like honeydew lists of things around the house, and probably going a little crazy, but no, it's been.
Do you feel when you have that sort of constant motion, constant traveling, constant deadlines, do you feel out of sorts when that is absent? Like when there's silence?
It's very weird. I actually, it's a little untrue. I had an idea for a thing and I made myself write it last week just to feel of use, just to feel like I was doing something. I don't know who would want to draw it or if it's ever going to be published, but I just, I wrote a comic script last week, kind of out of the blue. But yeah, no, it's very weird.
Have you had that sort of contrast in the past?
No.
So this is the first time in a long time that you've sort of been forced into a quiet reflection.
Yeah, and I think the sort of writing something spontaneously last week was possible, kind of only because there's been nothing else to do, other than like chores,
Right. And it's also different now that the kids are older too, so you don't even have like the parenting duties of younger children that younger children require to.
Yeah. And there's some elder care stuff, and there's some dogs, and but it's been a very domestic spring and summer for me, but we were in the writer's room for the show when the strike hit. I was like, all right, well, hope to see you again one day.
And the writer's room was out of town, right? You were out of town for that?
Yeah, but I was zooming in because I had some stuff going on here. So I actually, yeah, I came home. I wrapped production on the 19th of December and came back on the 20th, and um, have been here since.
Is it? How is it morphed now? Feeling that this is going on, certainly for a lot longer than what people were hoping for. Although there was always the
I don't
definite
know. I,
possibility that it was going to be a nightmare drag out because of how
I mean,
much they don't want to give up a penny.
I'm nobody in the business, and I got no special in information or anything like that. But just my personal read of the tea leaves was always that it was going to be November at the soonest, and really more likely January. And I still feel that that's accurate. I think January is more likely than November.
Right, because they've already written off the year, so now everyone.
Well, yeah, it's like they said last week that after Labor Day they're going to talk to SAG, and then you're 3 weeks out from the high holy days, and then you got 2-3 weeks until Thanksgiving, and then it's Christmas, and then it's just that time of year where
Right, there's no
Hollywood
production
shuts down.
starting at that time in a good year,
Yeah,
in a normal year, I should say.
Yeah, summer is lazy, and then September and October tend to be insanely busy, and then November, December tends to be complete blow-offs.
Now I
For
know how.
executive, there's deadlines and stuff, but it tends to be, yeah. So I think it's January. And look, even if, like, let's say SAG takes whatever, let's say they come back to SAG next week and they make a presentation, and by Friday SAG, they're going to have to counter, but let's give them that week, right? So there's the first week of September, offers made to SAG. Second week of September, SAG counter offers. Third weeks of September, depending on what that counter offer is, maybe the AMTP goes back, maybe they get quiet. Let's say they treat them like they treat the writers, and they go quiet. All right. So then there's going to be a week or two of posturing. All right. Now we're into October. Let's say first week of October, they come back to the writers. Then we go back to them. Then we go back to them. And then it's the middle of October. Let's say it's the middle of October for a workable deal is on the table. We then have to present it to our members to a vote. It has to be voted, tabulated, and ratified. Let's say that goes without a hitch. That is like a 3-week process. That puts you right in the middle of the high holidays, right? So much of the town is closed down. Let's say the vote gets wrapped up and decided on and is agreed to, like December, but then the town is closed. So maybe best case, people have a lot of phone calls 2 weeks before Christmas, and then January 2nd, everybody hits the ground running. I don't. It's hard to say. It's all hard to say.
But even best case scenario, let's say they come back in the next week and go, "We're giving you everything."
Okay.
Even that process that you were talking about to get it processed, ratified, you're still looking at probably 2 months.
Yeah.
To get everything finalized, done for both guilds.
Yeah, for both guilds. Oh, for both guilds, both
even
guilds.
If they said good to go on both at the same time,
I'd say that's both at the same time.
If they came back to both and went, "We're giving you everything,"
yeah,
in that magical world,
right.
Just as far as all the boilerplate process after that, you're still looking at a process that'll take at the very least a month to a month and a half.
That feels right. Yeah.
As you said, to get it out to the membership, get the membership votes back, whatever. Who knows?
That's assuming, they all go for it.
Whatever,
right?
whatever is mandated as far as the amount of time that a vote has to be conducted, and so
it's crazy. It's crazy.
Uh,
Especially that they sat for 100 days just letting writers get hungry and angry. And now they're mortified
and that was their strategy
and shocked that everybody is so angry. And it's like, well, y'all fucked around for all of summer. You went 100 days without talking for no good reason.
But the thing is, they're using the same playbook.
Yeah.
and not understanding the social media landscape.
Mhm.
Also not, I think, fully appreciating that they're using the same playbook they used when both guilds were not out at the same time.
Mhm. Yeah, this has never happened. Right.
And the
Yeah.
fact that you can have on those picket lines and through social media, both of those guild memberships able to talk and pass information and parse everything that's being put forward,
Mhm.
and all of the developments is not something that the studios are able to functionally process.
Yeah.
And they're stubborn, and they're run by stubborn, massive egos that would never admit they were wrong anyway.
Right.
So I don't see how, yeah, it just. And you're also
Well,
dealing with a streaming model at the crux of a lot of these things that relies on hiding the truth.
yeah, but also only when it, like, not to their shareholders. They announced 12 million people watched the show, but they can't. How do you know, right? It
Well,
doesn't.
well, that's the thing. So they're lying to
Somebody.
one of the sides, and in telling the truth to one of those sides, it's going to reveal the lie to the other side. So either they're telling the truth about the numbers, or they're lying to Wall Street.
Right. Yeah. Which, or both. Which feels also the rates that we've been locked at since the last strike. This is crazy. The low number for a script and a treatment for a film, the minimum is $77,495. And in 2008, that was worth $110,028. So that's inflation in 15 years, right? What we're asking for wouldn't even be commensurate with that.
No, but the other thing that I don't think you.
It's that guy. Plo Koon. Is that Plo Koon?
Close enough that I'll give you the point. Plo Koon.
Wow, okay.
This is Dave Filoni's favorite character. With his little breathing mask. When did the breathing mask comes off? I doubt it. This.
No. It'd be non.
And it looks like a yellow. I don't know if this is just faded over the years. Certainly looks more yellow than green to me.
Looks jaundiced like his hand.
Yeah, he doesn't look like he's having a good time.
Well, I'm feeling unwell.
Nobody sits by me anymore.
He's got that Harkonnen rebreather. I'm amazed that I can still remember characters' names of, especially like prequel guys.
But you know what? This for me, I'm happy with this. If they released a figure 5 POA, I don't care if it's a brick.
Yeah.
That also didn't feel so delicate that a kid couldn't play with it without fearing that it's going to snap apart. Other than Vader and his launching head.
Did you ever play with? I remember I had Mask. Do you remember Mask?
They were so tiny, and those vehicles felt so fragile.
No, those vehicles were good. The tires were really rubber.
Oh, the tires were rubber, but they had that.
Man.
They weren't as delicate as how brittle some of the cheaper G.I. Joe vehicles felt.
Yeah. I love those. I thought those vehicles felt. Yeah, no, I like that little smaller scale.
How many Mask toys did you have?
I did that. Like a little. I mean, not that there were ever that many, but like certainly most of that first wave.
What's the name of the main guy?
Matt Tracker.
Matt Tracker. And he had the semi.
He had the semi, but he also had another thing.
Is that the thing that would launch out of the semi?
No. There was a different guy that did the semi. Tracker just had like a car.
Was that the red sort of Ferrari?
Yeah.
And who was the villain? The villain was like
Miles Mayhem.
Miles Mayhem.
And he had it. This was great. He had an airplane that turned into a helicopter.
But he basically he
I have a boat that turns into 2 boats.
Some classic storytelling.
Yeah.
He always looked like Thunderbolt Ross to me.
Yes, very much so. But that was, talk about price point. I remember that was part of the charm and the appeal was because they were smaller, they were like $1. I feel like they were cheaper because I remember buying one because it was like I had money burning a hole in my pocket. It's like, all right, well, do I get a and that's the guy and the vehicle. That was the other thing too, is they weren't just separate figures.
I do want to talk about how here. So here's a modern figure. We're going to open this. This just came today. Good old 9 Numb. This has super articulation.
Finally.
But even better, the classic Kenner card.
Yeah, the packaging's hard to beat.
And there's the modern version of Yak Face. I just did a re-release on that. Yak Face there. There's Nikto.
Sure. Skiff guy. Yeah.
Woof.
Wait, that guy, they changed his name.
Yes.
That used to be Klaatu.
Yes. Now Klaatu is now the species.
Whack.
And there's
Kithaba.
The
Skiff. Yeah, okay. Skiff card they never made.
There's the Cad Bane. There's 9.
I ordered Cad for Henry's birthday.
The action figure version or the
yeah.
Was that one he particularly gravitated towards in the
he definitely was into that. It's funny. It was one of those things like I pre-ordered.
I've got the.
I'm not sure that he's so into it now, but we'll find out, I guess.
I was going to reach him the Hot Toys. I got.
Yeah.
So does he generally, the figures that you get him, does he go for the 6-inch scale?
Yeah. Although sort of when the movies were coming out, the more frequent ones were the smaller ones. But now
the 3 3/4.
Yeah.
Of that same.
Yeah, the 3 3/4 were more common, sort of during the films, and now he tends to be more into the.
And does he? And now they're mainly display, right?
I think so. Yeah. I mean, I'm not 100% sure. I mean, I think so.
I know he frequently likes my action figure posts, so I know he still likes.
Yeah.
Get this open. So where do you keep your helmet that you got at Galaxy's Edge when we were there?
You kind of can't see it, but it's kind of there in between the bookcase and the wall. Sort of don't really, it's so disastrously small on my massively oversized head that
they came
out. Try as I might.
Should we ever go back? They just released 4 adult heads. The classic X-Wing helmet. Mm-hmm. So I'm assuming that will be your single purchase.
Yeah, it'd be hard to resist. But also, I don't know. It's there's that thing of realizing, I want this thing, and I'm an adult with disposable income, and I can, once my children are taken care of, I can do what I want, right? It's my money. I'm a grown-ass adult. And it's like, oh God, where am I going to put this thing?
Well, you wear it.
Oh, sure. I guess
you'd wear it all the time.
Oh, 100%.
You do yard.
It'd be great if it was rated like for crash safety. I'd like skate in it.
You know what? I bet they do make rated for crash safety helmets. Would you go for the X-Wing?
What are my choices?
I don't know. Vader. You could do a Vader helmet.
Yeah, no, I would definitely want something I could see out of. I think it'd be dope if I could skate in a Vader helmet, but I think it'd just be murder on your vision. Yeah, X-wing helmet for sure.
Yeah, that's not going in his hand easily, so we're just going to put that in the holster and call it a day.
Great.
And he's gonna hug this because I don't want to bother putting it in his arms right now. So
okay,
and he lives there now.
Yeah. Lando's Chewbacca.
I can't open this because I got to return it because they sent it damaged. But I will show, talking about how good the head sculpts have become.
Wow, that's really Tamara Morrison. Or The Rock.
From Aquaman. What was the last thing you watched that you enjoyed? Are you catching up on it? You watching Taskmaster? You enjoying any?
Yeah. Getting caught up on Taskmaster. I loved The Bear. I loved Barbie. I loved Oppenheimer. I'm excited to see Bottoms this week. Oh man, that's good.
You must have had him. He was from the original.
Totally. Yeah, limbs are loose as shit. Even when I was a kid, you'd like thump his hand and his arm would just go like.
But what they don't have, he had the vac metallized body.
Yeah.
Which they don't have.
Yeah.
That anymore. Because the environment.
Wow.
The sacrifices our generation has made.
Yeah, I love The Bear. That's
Have you been watching Reservation Dogs?
No, I know that the new season has started. That and Shadows.
The new season is so brilliant.
Yeah,
and final season. I mean, that's the.
Yeah, it's such a fantastic
I'm
show.
curious to hear your thoughts when you've watched the new season.
I tend to like to let them accumulate and blast through them in a couple of nights. Rather than weekly, so sort of like some kind of an interim streaming binge model. Like, yeah, I don't know. That I feel like I'm forgetting about something, but I think that's about it. How about you? What have you been seeing lately?
What We Do in the Shadows, definitely. Yeah. And Reservation Dogs. Been watching Futurama as it's been airing, but it doesn't.
Oh yeah.
It's fine. It certainly doesn't feel like late stage Simpsons. Like, I'm not disappointed in the way.
I had heard that recent Simpsons is worth checking out. That it's gotten quote good again unquote.
It lost me so long ago that I'm not averse to trying it. I would love if it was back to being
I've been
enjoyable.
Curious when I go and check it out. Yeah.
It suffered from that thing that happens with a lot of comedies. Like, I feel like Scrubs was a really good example of this, where if you have a show that starts out with a balance of comedy but with genuine emotion and has characters that can pull off a sincerity, if you have a dramatic moment happen, these feel like real people in comedic situations and yes, jokes within this world, but it doesn't feel like whiplash if you go to drama.
Right.
I think when you get a show last enough seasons, there's a boredom that sets in the writer's room, and they start writing the characters just to have fun with the jokes and the situations they can put them in, and eliminate anything that was grounded about those characters, to where you lose. It just becomes what The Simpsons became when you lost the warmth of the family. And you made
definitely a point where like Homer became like the stupidest. Like, it's amazing that Homer remembered to breathe.
Right, and also invincible.
Yeah.
And then that point, it really, and then also where you have writers coming in that now their reference base is The Simpsons.
Right. Yeah, I got to point this out to a room full of network people that they were a year or two away from their first assistants or interns coming to work who had grown up entirely outside of a commercial television model. And you'd think I had said, I've just opened a briefcase full of anthrax. Like when these people sat down and did the math and realized that the next wave of 18 and 19-year-olds they hire to go get them coffee never knew what commercials were.
No, and then
Like, it's just like, oh, well, it's like it's like the thing like, oh yeah, the dinosaur's heart would stop beating, but it'd take 2.5 hours for the signals to reach its brain that it was dead. Like,
well, to see them systematically.
oh, is that the announcer? Is that the podcast announcers?
This is
the pod race, not podcast.
Greg Proops being one of them.
Right.
Yeah, which they actually filmed them in makeup and then replaced them with digital characters. There's photos that exist of Greg Proops made up in alien makeup, different design.
So, did Anakin never got to celebrate Bunta, right? He left on Bunta. He celebrated Bunta Eve and then took off, but he really didn't have one last Bunta, did he?
No, he never got his Bunta gifts.
Just celebrated.
Maybe Shmi let him open them early before.
Or maybe he was like one of those families you could open one Bunta Eve, but the rest you had to wait for Bunta morning.
Yeah, I mean, you never know when you're going to get liberated from slavery. So you really can't plan your holidays. What is... He's got an antenna through his face? Or is this where he's supposed to plug in? That's just bizarre.
Wait, he's got 3 legs? Or is that tail?
No, that's a tail.
Okay. Yeah, serious adult entertainment.
I mean, is a giant dog anything different? We're the ones who are older.
Yeah, giant dogs are no. It's just like that notion of the Ewoks are totally. What are you talking about? Come on, man.
We got 3 more to go.
Oh my God, I gotta eat. All right, I'm getting so hungry. Who is that? Moff Jeff.
Moff Jerjerrod. This guy, he was
guy
from the Death Star.
He's the guy who gets
ran the Death Star. But look at that sculpt.
That's good. And that's the guy who gets promoted throughout Empire, right?
No, that is Piet.
Admiral Piet. Right. Oh, that's We Shall Redouble Efforts.
Yes. The Emperor.
Emperor's coming here.
If you've ever seen the deleted scenes, he has a whole subplot of blocking Vader from going to see the Emperor, and you can see this like shit-eating grin on his face when he gets to tell Vader no, and he can't take the elevator up. It's like, no, the Emperor said no visitors. And Vader just sort of like huffs off, and he has this smug, self-satisfied look. That's what we lost. That's what we lost in editing.
So how many people worked on the Death Star, both Death Stars?
Well, I'm assuming the second one wasn't fully staffed, so
sure. Call that 60% staffed?
Yeah. And it's the size of a small moon.
Mm-hmm.
But, that could be mostly storage.
That's what it is. It's levels 331 to 17 are just like you store it, self-storage spaces.
Yeah. Climate controlled.
Mm-hmm. That also makes a lot of sense because it would explain like, oh, it's pretty light. It's just empty space, right?
Yeah, I'm assuming it's mostly there just for the super laser. It's not meant to be a troop transport or anything like that. So
how many people worked in?
And we've seen the core. We know that whole core inside it we saw in
through numerous Star Wars visual guides. The general population of the Death Star was close to 2 million.
Oh well, that's a massive war crime. Then
of that, about 1.2 million were personnel who kept the station running. All right, so 2 million. We'll call it 3 million between the 2 Death Stars. Then,
but do you think they had like franchises? Was there like a Burger King in there that had nothing to do with?
Well, where I was going with that is like after being personally responsible or an accessory to responsibility for the deaths of 3 million people. I buy that Luke would maybe just want to go fuck off to the planet of the weird mommy milkers.
Yeah, and he's been going constantly.
Yeah.
Since, first he finds out he has wizard powers, and then he immediately leaves his home after his parents die, essentially. The folks who actually raised him in a fiery death.
I had to kill 3 million people to get my dad to leave me alone.
Oh, and then he comes back as a ghost.
Thanks, Dad. Oh, wow, his hat comes off. Oh, that looks like a young Michael Ironsides.
Yeah, where's that figure line?
You could finally make your Metal Storm, the Legend of Jared Sin action figure.
Well, you have the printer.
I did kit bash together a couple Marvel figures to make a Tony Leung from In the Mood for Love action figure.
You have to send me a photo of that.
Oh yeah. Here, actually, I'll show them to you. Hang on a second. And the only problem is that the suit is maybe a not great color. So I got one of the Martin Freeman from Black Panther 2, which is like a darker color suit, but it's crazy more articulated. So like there's like more holes in it. But
oh, that's great.
Yeah, and he's got I gave him a little cigarette. Yeah. So he can sit and smoke and pine for Maggie Chung. And also that it's the blazer is unbuttoned doesn't feel accurate to the character. But this was yeah.
I mean, that's the fun I'm having now.
He's got to look down and away and smoke. There we go.
So who's next on your list?
That's it. My list is done. That
was you were just waiting for the components, and finally you.
Yeah. Although I mean, I think if there should be more John Cazale action figures. I would like a good Columbo. In fact, really, I think a line of
where's our Dog Day Afternoon
TV detectives of the 70s. I think I'd
get a Columbo figure. I'd get
Columbo, Rockford, Mannix, Ironside.
Yeah, but Rockford, you got to get the car.
Man,
so you have to guarantee.
I love the car. I have that Matchbox somewhere.
So, speaking of moment in time, do you recognize this?
Is that? Oh yeah, boy.
So this is the very brief moment.
One shot. It's like two shots, right?
Radios into the bunker to say it's all clear to open up the doors.
They're speculating that he did an entire neck down wardrobe change.
Quick change.
Instead of just putting the helmet on.
And then back into his normal outfit by the time they open the doors.
Okay, quick, go. Yeah. That would have been so cool if they put the figure out and it was just Endor Han with the helmet and a camcorder.
No, now I want the Endor Rebel Commandos that were his dressers, that each have a piece of his other outfit.
Admiral Solo's going to do a quick change, so just don't look, okay? The minute they say they're going to unlock the door and he cuts the communications, everyone turn your back, let him get changed again.
Helmet.
Gloves. Gotta get my... Oh, God.
Coat.
It's stuff. He even stuffed the pants into the boots. That's a ridiculous premise for an action figure.
And yet it exists.
Says me, the guy that made a smoking Tony Leung.
Get this open, and then we have our last, and we're done. So I think we're gonna kill two birds with one stone. We're gonna speed along by going. What books do you have coming up? Do you have? Adventure Man still going?
Yeah, Adventure Man still happening, but that starts up again in January. It'll be available, and that is it right now.
Does that feel weird too?
It feels really, really weird. Yeah.
Has there been a gap like this in the past?
No.
because you've
Yeah.
always just rolled. If they're not going
Yeah.
concurrently,
Yeah.
you're
And when
at least going on to the next thing. And you always
and
had sex
there was
criminals running in the background too.
yeah, there was a period when I was in parallel development on 2 shows and writing something like 4 or 5 books. It was the first time in my life I was ever late. And I hated it. I hated how it felt. I was miserable. So when the show went like into proper pre-production, I cut loose all of my collaborators that I've been planning on doing stuff with because I didn't want to. One, it at that point been a couple of years of development on this one show, and I didn't want to like not be present for it, but also I didn't want to leave anybody hanging because like if I don't write script and they don't draw a comic, they don't get fed, right? So I cut everybody loose and went into production on the show, and now everybody's got jobs doing comics, and I'm like, oh, even if I could somehow get a comic up and running, it wouldn't be out until February at the soonest. So it's really weird. I don't know. I'm trying to figure out what I'm going to do next, right? Assuming that we're not going to be back writing TV for a while, it's time to do some comics.
So I mean, what do you have things that you haven't had the time? That's a decent enough.
The face is good. The hair is really weird.
Well, I had a helmet on and a quick change, so
helmet hair.
Looks better from that angle.
Mm.
But yeah, that looks a little Henry Winkler now for a second.
Ooh, that's good. Could make a Gene Cousineau Barry action figure.
Oh, the Barry set would be.
That'd be good. Just the many outfits of NoHo Hank.
In fact, you know what? Just give me a NoHo Hank action figure.
Line. Great, actually.
Last one is probably one of my favorites, just because it's like, sure, why not? Why not put out this?
All right, I want to guess. I'm not going to. Okay. What film?
This is from Empire Strikes Back.
Empire Strikes Back. What scene or sequence? Broadly.
This is during the Hoth.
Is it the boss that lets Han Solo off of work to go pay off Jabba the Hutt? No, is it John Ratzenberger? It's John Ratzenberger.
It is not Brett Derlin. I do have that figure. He has been made into a figure.
He had a line. We got to make it.
This is one of the main characters. This is one of the main characters. But you have to identify why it's so specific.
Is it Underpants Luke? Is it Back to Tank Luke?
It is not Luke, so we can strike Luke.
All right.
And I do have the Back to Tank Luke.
Okay. All right. I give up. Who is it?
It is Chewbacca, but it's specifically mechanic
Chewbacca.
Yeah. With his goggles.
And his water pick.
And his face. Like there's judgment on that face. And his welding tool. Also just again capturing that moment in time.
What is the official designation? What is the subtitle?
This is
Millennium Falcon
Mechanic.
Wow.
See, there's the thing is, I enjoy immensely finding that they've done these weird permutations. There's a joy that I find,
sure,
in a world that's so full of little inconsequential joys.
Yeah.
Are not full, so bereft in recent times of finding something that's attainable. This is not an expensive figure. I think I got this for $5. So this is not like one that's like a holy grail. And the figures were produced in great quantities then. So they're not hard to find. But to know that this exists, to know that the weird Han Solo exists, for me, that's where the fun of this is, at getting these figures. And it's been a long couple of years, Matt. It's been just a long couple of years.
Yeah, yeah. No, Wow, that's really, up here in Portland where Leica Studios is. I've toured up there and got to meet some of the techs on their movies, and it's really stunning. But the figures, like I see your Coraline there, they have this kind of magnetic armatures, and so they'll like animate everything in CG first, and then they computer print all the different things. So you'll open a drawer and there's just like
all
a
the
thousand.
mouths, all the
Yeah, and
expressions.
they attach them with magnets, kind of one frame at a time, and they have individually printed all of the articulations needed for that to happen. I think we're a couple of years away from Star Wars going that specific. It's Chewie in the Millennium Falcon repair scene from Empire without the goggles, but yelling at Han so his mouth is open. That's the difference in the figure. And then it'll be like,
or the figure comes with a couple swappable variations.
Right. Yeah. Goggles, purse, water pick. He's ready to go.
Yeah, I mean, I need the goggles on.
Twists at the waist.
There is, yes, wrist articulation. So that's now 6 POA, or we're back down to 5 because that head is not.
Oh, Chewie's head doesn't move. That's right.
So you move the 5 to the waist.
Right. It seems like that would be an easy 6 for all of them, but what do I
know? So if you had to pick any one of these figures that you would put on your shelf,
boy,
what would you pick?
Maybe the Darth Vader, because I really, the Darth Vader lightning head, like that
Emperor's Wrath.
Yeah, Emperor's Wrath Vader, just because I do. That was like the first time, like as a kid, I remember seeing a video and then watching that laser disc, but like no one saw that. Someone had to make it. Like George Lucas knew it was there. Someone had to design or draw what Vader looks like for that special effect to happen. And it's on screen for 2 frames. I don't know. It's just like that was a big moment for me, and I feel like it actually informed my own work ethic. Chip and I today we're putting out a for the 10th anniversary Sex Criminals. We're putting out a big trade paperback that'll have all the issues in it, and we were just going through on the cover and just coming up with like I had to stop myself from pitching little jokes on a cover that like no one's going to register that as a joke, but it's like it really informed my sensibility.
Yeah, but this is sort of your button on the whole thing. So one other time are you going to have the chance to?
Well, I felt like the thing was the thing. This is it's just little. I don't know, but it was just that particular scene very specifically.
I mean, you kind of want to get this just to take that helmet off to see what's actually underneath there, don't you?
Yeah. I have one of those I have one of the xenomorphs that are based on like the concept drawings that Giger did when he was all white and had the skull underneath, and it's a very similar like.
No, imagine.
Oh, sort of. It's maybe
xenomorph head in place of the helmet.
There you go. Yeah, it's pretty crazy. I'm not such a fan of the blue painted lightning bolts, but I don't know. Like I said, that screen moment does feel idiomatically important to me.
How it would. With some backlighting.
Wow, that's pretty great.
Does that make you like it a little more?
Yeah, I think so. It's
a
weird
have some
figure.
mechanical.
Like
it looks like he does have some of the faceplate mechanics in there. Well, now I know what you're getting. Well, when is the 10th anniversary collection come out?
It looks like it's gonna. Oh yeah, here you go. Here's like a picture. You can see like the neck mechanics and stuff.
Yeah, I think they painted whatever's in there, so you see that shadow.
But again, it's so quick.
If you want to get one, since Henry likes the the 6-inch Black Series, they did that same figure, the Emperor's Wrath, in the 6-inch as well.
Oh, wow. I'll have to check that out. Yeah, there's a Star Wars store here at our mall. This is like our last week of summer vacation, so maybe tomorrow Henry and I'll go take a run to the Star Wars store.
Head down. Well, you tell me. I
don't know. There's not we haven't set a publication date yet, but just the sort of the vagaries of book publishing is like the catalogs have to go out like 6 months, so sometime in 2024.
Is there anything that hasn't been made available prior that's going to be in it? Anything that's exclusive to it?
No, just all of them in one paperback volume.
Just an essay, just a nice
scholarly essay. I don't think so. I think it's just going to be I think that's kind of the appeal of the book. The format is that it's sort of like it's the whole complete story, but people don't have to buy all the. The other thing is like we're in like 6 little paperbacks or 3 big hardcovers. This is kind of splitting the difference, I guess.
But you will include the crayon art that I did of you and Chip. That'll be.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah,
that's one of the exclusive. That's the exclusive cover.
It'll be the end. It'll be the end papers.
You know what? I spent so much time on that. I think I really captured, at the very least, Chip.
Yeah, no, 100%.
It's been delightful catching up with you. I've missed you all tremendously.
Yeah. We miss you. We speak of you fondly and frequently, my friend. So
one day,
hopefully we'll just see each other in the very near future
when we're all doing things again.
Yeah.
And before you get busy again, when you're juggling 74 projects.
Yeah. I'm way more into just juggling like one or two. That's it now.
Well, everything.
I'd be happy to juggle at this point. So.
Everything you do is great, and I recommend it to everyone watching. And thank you all for being here. Hope you've enjoyed it whenever you watch it. Also in the future, if you'd like to support it, subscribe. There's a Patreon link below. There's an Amazon wish list if you want to look through that. There's tipping. I don't know what people do. I appreciate you all being here. Mike, one final comment.
Thanks, Mike. Welcome back. I hope comics have been good to you since you've returned. Thank you very much. It's very kind of you. Speaking of here, Ken, you might know this. Did Target did the Tracksuit Mafia guys come out? The Tracksuit Draculas come out from Target? Because
no,
I pre-ordered it. I've never seen it yet.
The Target pre-orders, that's a whole other nonsense mess. As far as stuff will be showing up in stores that still hasn't shipped out from pre-orders. I have not seen them in the stores yet.
Okay. Because like my friends with some of the actors, I know I've seen the actors have them.
I think the
I know Carlos. I saw Carlos was playing with his. I was like, all right, so they're out there. They exist.
So. Have you got your display? Your Kate and Clint figures?
No, I mean it's no. I've that's I try to get that stuff to keep an archive.
Because you've had, the stuff you've worked on. I mean, they've put out what? They put out some of the Fantastic Four figures in your outfits, right? They did the Future Foundation outfits.
I think that would maybe I guess it would depend on the characters. You could argue that was more John Hickman than me. But there've been some Clints and Kates and Pizza Dog. There's a Pizza Dog stuffy at Disney, which is weird.
And Diamond Select did the PVC diorama.
I can't. I'm supposed to get all that stuff that I don't. So I try to chase it down and keep an archive for my kids, I guess. But I remember you sent me a Hawkeye, and it is in that archive. But yeah, no, I don't have. I don't know. It feels a little bit like if you're like wearing your own like a band, like wearing your own shirt or something. I like to have it. Like I like that it's there, and that one day my kids can show their kids that look, your dad made up a thing called Pizza Dog, and now it's on Disney every Christmas. But yeah, no, as far as I know, the tracksuits were that one was like, hey, right on. That's cool.
Oh, and they're doing the Kingpin from that.
Oh, okay, that's cool. Yeah, harder to make credit for that one, but yeah. Anytime there's a Band-Aid on Clint Barton, I feel like, all right,
That's your signature.
That was me.
That's your
That was
signature.
us. Yeah.
And final question,
Mhm.
because Chip couldn't answer it. What piece of Sex Criminals merch, if you could put one thing out there along with the anniversary?
I was trying for a while to make, well, I know Chip told you about the hand sanitizer.
Right.
So we made hand sanitizer. I wanted to make lube in packaging that was identified, like they were the little 4-ounce, 3-ounce bottles of hand
Right.
sanitizer. I wanted to make lube in the same thing in packaging, but also saying very, not, but it was a, there's actually FDA, like, you can't just put something out and call it lube. There's rules and stuff. But I thought it'd be really funny if we had Cum World hand sanitizer and Cum World lube in near identical packaging. So that would have been fun. And that was great. That was through the pandemic. We were stocked on hand sanitizer. We weren't even pandemic orders. It was just like, oh, I have all this merch we never sold. So there's all these little Cum World hand sanitizers. Went through
see, there was a reason for doing it, no matter what.
Yeah.
Well, hopefully,
everything else felt silly.
So you wouldn't have the action figures on your shelf?
No, I don't. I mean, again, no, I don't think so. I mean, I would have them just so there was a record of them existing, right. But it'd be weird.
Like if you knew someone had made models, because you're 3D printing now. If models existed out on the internet, would you print out things from the work you've done?
Maybe if they were really like a couple of, like, because I like Chip's art so much, maybe.
What if it was you and Chip? You and Chip in Chip's
sure. Yeah, that'd be form. Great. Yeah, that'd be great. I'd do
just the pair of you in a 2-pack.
Yeah. I went to one of those places where they, and I got as naked as they would let me in a mall. Yeah. It was at the middle of a mall. It was like a mall kiosk, and I could only like pull my shirt up, but and I'm holding actually my Sex Criminals notebook, the notebook that I was writing Sex Criminals in, and holding it up, and got a 3D print little statue about yay made of me, and sent it. I gave one to Chip, and I wrote like supportive messages on little stickers that he could stick on, like, "You're doing a great job, chum," and "I love you, buddy," and there's always me just like screaming, and yeah.
You should send him one of those for every Eisner he wins.
Yeah, I'd be broke. I'd be
another you.
I'd be dead broke.
Well, this has been enjoyable. Thank you for doing this.
Thanks, pal.
Go have dinner, and we'll talk soon. So, bye, everybody. Thanks for watching.
Bye, everybody.
I'm hitting this button and going bye. Bye.